This is Rugby Radio
with Stuart Cameron.
Brought to you by Borders College.
Hello and welcome to Rugby Radio, which comes to you live today from Riverside Park in Jedforest. It's a Premiership match between Jedforest and league leaders Marr. We're here with you until 5 o'clock to bring you live commentary on the game from Purdie and David Ferguson. The match kicks off at 3 o'clock, but there's other games going on. Also a number of matches off due to Storm Babette, as you would expect, and we'll tell you all about those games shortly. But for the matches on today, we'll keep you up to date throughout the afternoon. And first of all, we're going to bring in David Ferguson. The weather not being kind to the games north of the Forth Bridge, but in the Borders, it's lovely and sunny here at the moment, isn't it? Very dry, no wind at all. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is surprising, I suppose. You know, it's funny. We do have a bit of a microclimate, I think, in the Borders. We tend to miss some of the worst weather quite often. And you know, just being the referee there just now, who even though he's just in Edinburgh, was saying he was surprised to hear that the game was on, and he's surprised to see how good the pitch is here at Jed. And you know, it's fantastic because we need these games on, because you imagine it's going to get worse as we get into winter. So I'm glad the Borders seems to have escaped the worst of it. It's our first visit to Jedforest on their home patch this afternoon. Fair to say it's been a difficult season for the Royal Blues. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I remember speaking to Clark Skildon before the season started, the captain here at Jed, and he said the challenge they had was just numbers. Players, you know, didn't have players. The number of players at training they want to have, number of boys that want to play in Jed, and it's been a bit of a struggle. But I know there were rumours. You know what Borders Rugby can be like, that Jed wouldn't even have a team to start the season. Rumours in Borders Rugby? Yeah, of course. You know, it goes. It's certainly not an oxymoron, that is. It goes together. Yes, like a knife and fork. But the so he was concerned at the start of the season. He said, we will have a team, we will get on the park, but it's as soon as we have some injuries, we will be struggling, because we're needing to put calls out to players who are not able to train, who are working during the week, and to try and get them to available for a Saturday. And they've had that in recent weeks. They've had a lot of boys missing, particularly the front row, and you know the difficulties. You know, Stuart, you and I have talked before, we don't know why people would want to play in the front row. You know, it's not the place I'd ever want to have been. But if we don't have boys that are prepared to do that, we don't have a game. So it's great that boys have stood up, and there have been some young boys here in Jed who've stood up in recent weeks and had a go. But I think they're quite pleased today to be able to have 6 players coming back into the team. 2 of them are the young twins, that's Gregor and Lewis, and also Dom Buckley returns after a winning stint for Duns last weekend, and that was Duns' first win since 2021 when they won against Forrester. So congratulations to Duns. Unfortunately, they've gone the other way today. Their match has been cancelled, or postponed, should I say. And this is one of the subjects I was going to mention, because that means 3 points deduction. So for the first time since 2021, they get a 5-pointer and then 3 points taken away the next week. What's your own thoughts on that? Because it does have this feeling, doesn't it, from the outside looking in, of kicking a club when they're down. It's difficult. It is difficult, Stuart. I've been an administrator of leagues in the past before, and it's difficult. You have to set rules in place there to try and make sure that nobody takes a mickey during the season and calls off for reasons. Boys away on holiday, boys away and at weddings and what have you. And you've got to try and encourage the players and the teams to make sure they see the league as important. It is important. You have to be able to put out your teams. If you enter a league, you've got to be able to play every week. But at the same time, the other side of that coin is the fact that teams are struggling. Clubs are genuinely struggling at the moment, and we've seen a real drop-off in players, not just in rugby but across sport in Scotland. We've seen a real drop-off over the last 10-15 years of people dropping out through their teens. We've got a real problem in Scottish sport around that. We lose more players and athletes from sport, male and female, through the teenage years than most European countries do, and that's something that's not really been addressed on a national level. We just think it'll just happen and they'll just be there. When we get to the senior level, they'll be there, we'll find them. Now that's not the case. So as a result, we've got senior clubs who are genuinely struggling. Now there's an awful lot of fantastic work going in there in Duns, and it's worth pointing out that the great stager himself, Pete Gallagher, the great legend of Duns rugby, celebrated his 80th birthday this week.
So
fantastic.
Great congratulations down to Pete. I'm sure he'll be delighted that I'm mentioning that on the radio. But they've done, Pete and so many others have done a fantastic amount of work down there to keep that club going, to build that club, brought it up through the leagues into being a good senior club, and they're trying to hold on. So as you say, it doesn't help taking points off them when they're trying their best to get a team out, and it's really difficult.
What's the compromise then for the future?
Well, the challenge is you can't compromise during a season, so you can't change rules during a season. That just doesn't work. It's not fair to the rest of the clubs. So they've got to sit down. Scottish Rugby have got to be looking at it now and looking at how they're going to next season with the likes of the East Leagues and of clubs there. I know they have, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about whether you could put out as many players as you've got and still play the game and look to with the opposition to play 13 aside if you need to. But the challenge, of course, is the front row. You've got to have front rows. You've got to have boys, because it becomes unsafe if you don't have props and you're putting other boys in there who don't know how to scrummage. So you can't do it during the season. You have to sit down and look at it before the season starts, and it's just difficult. It's just I don't have an answer to how you find a solution to that when clubs are struggling during the season.
Because I know that the SRU were very interested in having a four tiers effectively at National Rugby, Premiership and National 1, 2 and 3. They didn't really want the National 4, and it was the clubs who wanted to have that 4th division, because last year, as we know, it was chaos at the bottom of the table, 5 going down one league, 6 going down the other. But the net result was we actually increased to 4 teams playing National Rugby. Yeah,
and I don't agree with that. I think that's one area where you could recognise the challenges that sport's going through in the last 10, 15 years. It's not what it was. So, you're always going to have teams coming up, clubs coming up, they want to play national because they see it as a sign of their ambition. We're playing national, we can take our boys across the country, and you have a good club that season, or you've got plenty of players. It will hit everybody. It goes for so many years, and everybody gets affected by lack of players. So I think there has to be more understanding of that. I think the national leagues has to be cut to just 2 or 3 leagues, at the top, where teams travel across the country. Because I'm convinced that if we had more regional leagues, you would get more people playing. Because a lot of boys will work on a Saturday morning. They won't travel these days. Some boys can't make training quite the same time, and so if they were only staying local and travelling local and were local derbies, we know what it's like in the borders, but you can get that in the Highlands, you can get that in the north. They've got big rivalries there too, and east and west. So I would like to see them actually get rid of a national league and put it back to regional. But then, as the season goes on, play a shortened season perhaps, but then as it goes on, they come together. The teams that are good, they come together to play in playoffs. It gives them a chance to play across the country and then go up into national leagues. But yeah, I think there are too many national leagues.
Okay, the voice of David Ferguson there, and we always agree with him. We'll be talking to David a little bit later on. But back to today's match, and earlier I spoke with coaches from both sides. You'll hear from Marr head coach Kenny Diffenthal shortly. But first, a chat with David Grieve, part of the coaching team here at Jedforest. Well, David, thanks so much for talking with us today. You said this week that if it wasn't for bad luck, Jed would have no luck at all. Describe what it's been like this season.
It's been really difficult. We're kind of in a transitional phase. Like a lot of our senior players they're not quite available to train all the time, just due to other commitments. And because of that, we're short of numbers, and it's kind of had a knock-on effect all over the place. And also, we kind of got 2 or 3 players out of retirement, and they've played a couple of games and they're injured, and it's not the way to go. It just feels like that. It just feels like if we've not got bad luck, we'd have no luck this season. But it just is what it is.
And one of those players you're talking about is Paulo Ferreira, who's out injured at the moment, but he came back. I mean, we've done so many retirement interviews with that man, and he keeps coming back. And but they come back because they're part of the club and they want to help the club. The same with the youngs today.
Yeah, definitely. Like Paulo, he's probably a bit of a club legend. What you see is what you get. You get 100% out of him. He's scrumming second to none. But again, he's a real threat around about the 5-yard line. Again, he's really strong for a big fella, and I think he averages about 10 tries a season, and that's hard to replace that.
Yeah, he was a top try scorer last year, I think, wasn't he?
Aye.
Yeah.
And he's only been here, I don't know if it's 5 or 6 seasons, and he's about 50 tries, which for a front row player is pretty impressive.
But he's out at the moment. How long for?
I'm not too sure. I think he got a fracture in his thumb, and he also dislocated it. But he's had an operation, so we'll kind of just have to wait and see. Hopefully, he'll get the boots back on for us.
Well, we've been following Jed for many, many years. I used to live in Jed for 3 years, so I'm very attached to the club. But I've never known an injury situation like it is at the moment.
Aye, it's just unlucky, I suppose. Every time a player gets injured, it's usually an experienced player or a player in a key position. And I suppose in one way, looking at it, there's other players getting a chance here. So maybe in the future they'll have the experience when they do step up, and it'll maybe do as well in the future.
I was talking to Connor Robson earlier on, who does all your social media, etc. And I was saying, well, what's the morale like within the team? And he said, actually, even after the defeat last week at Glasgow Hawks, they've still got a smile on their face. So they're not getting down about it. And obviously, when you're at the bottom, the only way is up.
Well, that's it. We're kind of already thinking about next season. That's no saying we're giving up this season, but we're already thinking about next season, and we doubt it'll be caught out like this again. And we won't have a long-term, short-term, medium-term plan, and we're going to have to sort this out pretty much now, and make sure we're organised, and whatever happens, happens. There's
still obviously 11 games to go, but there's a lot of tough games amongst them. But we've seen it before, haven't we? A team that have struggled, they get that elusive win, they finally get some luck, or they put on a good performance, or the opposition hasn't come up to scratch on that day, and then they move on, and the win's then coming. So it's like this bad habit that you've got to break.
Pretty much, if we could have this squad out maybe 4 or 5 games in a row, I'm sure we'd pick up at least 1 or 2 wins. But it's just trying to get this squad out. That's the difficult part. But we just have to take it week by week at the moment.
Yeah, because looking at the team news today, it's a lot more encouraging on paper, isn't it? The Youngs are back. Dom Buckley returns after a little foray at Duns last week, helping Duns for their first win since 2021. And Gary Munro back as well, playing fly half. So that's looking good on paper. And also you've got Mark Glenn, who I think is an incredibly good prospect for the future. We've seen him at full back, we've seen him on the wing. Now he's scrum half today.
That's it. Like Mark, he's a brilliant player. He thinks he's a scrum half, but again, other opinions are he's a fullback.
He's played number 8 as well, hasn't he?
I think he played number 8 for the Thistle a few weeks ago, and I think he scored about 4 tries. So he's a real one for the future, Mark. But to be fair, he's actually one of our better players at the moment. He breaks tackles. He's got a bit of pace, and he's got a bit of dog in defence as well. So he's really good, Mark.
And it's great for these youngsters to play at this level. I mean, some would say different, but someone like Mark Glenn, who has that talent, you can put him in at the Premiership, and he doesn't look out of place at all.
No, I think he's seen it kind of with Hector Patterson last year. Hector was only 17, and he was like one of the standout scrum halves. And well, obviously Hector being a Jed Thistle player, and him and Mark have trained together and that, and we didn't think there was much between them, potential-wise. So it's we've seen Hector do it, so we thought there's no problem with Mark doing it. So I think it's paying dividends for him at the moment.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck today, and hopefully we'll get a good game.
Right, cheers.
Well, Kenny, good to see you again. It must be just a week ago, isn't it, down at Fullerton Park. What a result that was for you, beating Currie, holding on to the Bill McLaren Shield. You've now beaten Hoyk, you've beaten Currie as well, so things are going really well. And now here you are on the road at Riverside Park, a place you know very, very well. You've had a few experiences here in your time, and it's bottom of the table, Jedforest, but I know you, and you won't take them for granted.
Oh, 100%. We know how tough it is here. We've had so many tough battles here, and scores have gone both ways, so we're under no illusions how tough this is going to be.
Now, Jed v Marr, to say, it's always been an exciting fixture. I think we've covered practically everyone in the last 10 years. It's always been a celebration of great open rugby, and back in the National One Days, now you're both in the Premiership as well. What's your own experiences of this game?
I think every time we seem to play each other, there always seems to be, regardless of league positions, there always seems to be both teams wanting to play a decent brand of rugby, which is brilliant, and I think that's partly the reason that there's the battles and challenges of the game. Both teams don't want to take a backward step, and also want to play really good rugby, which is really good. And I think that every time we meet, like I say, regardless of league positions, everybody's it's a clean slate and just want to play good rugby.
A few changes in your team from last week today. Can you explain them for us?
Curran's pulled his hamstring, and Ben Johnson's pulled his hamstring as well.
Oh gosh.
Curran's a bit worse than Ben. Ben will hopefully be back next week. So forced into a couple changes, and then Cammy's away, unavailable.
but still looks a pretty tasty back line there. Greg Montgomery at full-back, the Bickerstaffs as well. And again, I mean, it's worth the admission for the Bickerstaffs against the Youngs, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. They always bring the A game, so the battles between those guys are always something to watch.
And tell me about the Bairds as well. We've got Robbie Baird playing scrum half this week.
Yep.
Last week it was Grant Baird.
Yeah, so no relation, I'm led to believe. And Robbie, a youngster that we're bringing in, Grant wasn't available to train this week, so it's only fair that Robbie gets a shot to start this week.
And that's the way it works at a lot of clubs, isn't it? Is that, you know, you put your hand up for training, you've got to be there to be selected. 100%.
I mean, that's the sort of thing that we're trying to instill at Marr, is that if you turn up to training, put in the hard work, you're going to reap the benefits. Obviously, sometimes in some positions, you can't do that because you're a bit light in those positions, but we try our best to make sure that the guys that are putting in the work actually get to play at the weekend.
Now today, obviously, looking at the top of the table, you're right up there. Obviously, you've got a game. Well, Curry's got a game in hand for you, but you have beaten them at home as well. Second part of the season, obviously, you have to go to Mansfield Park, you have to go to Millennium Park as well.
Yep.
So obviously, the feet still on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, it's the old cliche of every game on its own merit. And today against Jed, like I said, we're under no illusions how tough this is going to be, and this is another challenge for everybody. A few young guys that have come into the team that don't know what it's like to play down here, so a little bit of a baptism of fire, but I'm sure they'll be right.
Are these tricky matches sometimes when it's top against bottom, because it's kind of like a no-win situation? People expecting you to put 50-60 points on them today.
100%, and that's something that we've spoken about through the week there, and try to really focus the guys on actually training well and not train about the game. Because a lot of guys think about the game, it's bottom of the table, but it's not that at all. It's Jedforest.
You've said it all.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you luck. We hope it's a good game anyway. Hope it's a competitive game. I think everyone will benefit from that. And as I say, we wish you luck again.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
If you're looking to develop or hone your green skills, look no further than Borders College, your local community college. Visit borderscollege.ac.uk today. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
Your pet deserves the best, and that's why your pet deserves the care and treatment offered by Border Vets. We focus on delivering the very best care to each and every one of our patients and clients. We get to know you and your pet and offer treatments tailored to every animal's individual needs, from our conveniently located surgeries in Galashiels, Selkirk and Earlston. Ask about our Pet Health Club for your cat or dog, giving you peace of mind by spreading the cost of vaccinations, regular checks and more. From dental care to travelling abroad and the whole range of veterinary services, bordervets.co.uk is where you'll find everything you need to know. Border Vets, where your pets are part of our family.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
OK, let's take a look at the matches off today. Storm Babette has caused havoc, particularly north of the Forth Bridge. So quite a few games off involving teams in that region of Scotland whose pitches are either waterlogged or clubs have been told it's unsafe to travel. Luckily, we have a full Premiership today. In National 1, though, Ayr against Highland, Dundee against Melrose postponed. In Division 2, Gordonians v Newton Stewart, Kirkcaldy against Berwick and Peebles against Aberdeen Grammar, all off today. National 3, that all goes ahead as planned. Dundee Dunfermline v Strathmore, Perthshire v Greenock Wanderers and Ross High against White Craigs are all off in Division 4. But one of the big games in the Premiership today is at Mansfield Park. Hoyk against Heriots Blues, and covering this one for us is Alan Lorimer.
Hoyk take on Heriots this afternoon at Mansfield Park, knowing that the Golden Acre men are close on their tail in the Premiership table. Heriots in third position in the Championship are just 2 points behind the Greens and will come to Mansfield unbeaten against border sides so far. For Hoyk, this is a home match they must win. Albeit you could say that about any game in what's a tight and fiercely contested championship this season. Hoyk will have an extra incentive today, having performed below their own high standards last week in scraping past what I have to say was an impressive Musselburgh team. The Greens were missing a few players last weekend, but look to be back to reasonable strength for today. An interesting selection is the choice of Owen Gray on the wing. Gray was an outstanding player for Hoyk Youth 2 seasons ago when he played at stand-off for the under-18s, and today gets his first taste of Premiership rugby. Whether Gray could challenge for the 10 journey remains to be seen, but his inclusion today should send a signal to other youngsters coming through the system that Hoyk have a pathway for talented players. What could be crucial for Hoyk today is the bench. Head coach Matty Douglas has strong performers in Dalton Redpath, Fraser Rennick and Tom Hope on the bench to bolster the forward pack. Heriots are the best when they move the ball wide and certainly have the firepower behind the scrum to cause damage. Fly half Kenta Kutsuna moves from his normal position at standoff to scrum half to make way for Luke Townsend to occupy the number 10 berth. And that represents a twin threat that will keep the Hoyk back row busy. Interestingly, Hoyk have effectively are playing 5 back rows in the back 5 of their pack. Connor Sutherland having been shifted to the second row to work in tandem with Fraser Wilson, another who occupies the flank position. So a big game for both Hoyk and Heriots today, and one from which the Greens will want to extract maximum championship points while convincing themselves that last week was just a blip on an otherwise impressive set of performances.
Staying in Hoyk because there's a huge game in East League 2 this afternoon. Hoyk Lundeen against Hoyk Harlequins, a big derby, and waiting for us there at Volunteer Park is Gary Alexander.
It's all building up here at the Volunteer Park before the first Hoyk derby in several years between the Lundeen and the Quins. The Lundeen show a few changes from last week's team up at Dunbar. William Sharkey moves up to the middle row, Matty Huggin comes into the back row, Rory Graham moves from 9 to 10, Ewan Wood from wing to scrum half, and the Glendinning brothers both come back into the 3/4, Scott and Craig, with Sean Giesford making his first appearance since he kicked the winning penalty goal against Dalkeith, filling the number 15 shirt. For the Quins, they show a mixture of youth and experience, epitomised by father and son Neil and Finlay Douglas. There's been controversy already before kick-off though, one with the Hoyk Force game off. Each side had 3 Hoyk Force players in the squad, but we understand that some of those players have been instructed to be withdrawn, so we'll await final lineups. We also have a Hoyk man in charge of things. Cammy Rudkin, the experienced referee, will be the man with the whistle. As I say, it's all building up. We hope the weather's relented, no wind, no rain, so it should be a cracker.
Looking forward to it, and a little twist in the tail. There's always a twist in the tail at Hoyk, that is for sure. Back to the Premiership, and Selkirk host Enbrackies today at Philip Hawke. Curry will take on Kelso at Millennium Park, and with his thoughts on this one, Director of Rugby at Kelso is Neil Hinnigan.
We're going to have to be defensively well organised, and that's what we've been working on mainly this week, is trying to keep that up, because it paid dividends last week against Accies. We managed to stay in the game this time for long enough to have an opportunity to come back at Accies, and from 22-10 down to winning the game 32-22 in the end was very pleasing. So yeah, it was a good result, good 5 points, but it was a bruising encounter last week, so there's a lot of players dropping out. Murray Woodcock drops out, Terry Logan drops out, Hamish Tweedy is out as well. Liam Tate, Angus Utterson comes in for Hamish. He's looking at his first Premiership game, so hopefully he gets a run off the bench. James Glendinning comes into the back row. Grant Shields comes back onto the bench. Angus McGregor keeps his place at loosehead, so that's a credit to him after his performance last week. Alan Frame starts at hooker and Hugh Knox goes to the bench. Quite a lot of changes in there, obviously, so the injury list is getting fairly big, but we've also got to look ahead. After Curry, we have Jedforest and Musselburgh at home, so they're going to be 2 big games for us, and it's just about trying to manage the squad through this period of time. As I say, the young, youthful team we're taking, and some of the older heads, it's a good mixture, and I'm sure we can give a good account of ourselves.
Well, staying in the Premiership, Musselburgh at home against Glasgow Hawks today. Musselburgh up to 5th in the table after getting 2 excellent points at Hawick last weekend. Could have won it as well, but Hawks getting 5 points against Jedforest last Saturday. International 1 and games between Ayr and Highland, as I mentioned, and Dundee against Melrose are both victims of the weather. But the derby between GHA and GHK goes ahead, as does Watsonians versus Biggar. In fact, that one kicked off at 2 o'clock today. Watsonians against Biggar, 2 p.m. kick-off for that one. Also in the National 1, Glasgow Accies take on Gala. Accies coming off the back of 2 blistering away wins against GHK and Melrose, putting 60+ points on their opponents in both matches. And now they take on a Gala side that aims to stop them in their tracks. Here's Director of Rugby at Gala, Ewan Swinton.
We will have a fair bit of bulk returning to the forwards. Tim McCavanagh and hopefully Cammy Pate will be back in the reckoning for this weekend. And hopefully Angus Dunn will return from injury as well. These 3, along with any other changes, will make quite a difference. Our backs are very capable. We perhaps need a wee bit more control that will come with experience and indeed confidence. Accies are very well coached. They're a very well led club and they're very much on the up. I'm not unrealistic about the challenge that we face, but I am extremely positive about the group that we have. The major lack that we have at the moment is the confidence that comes with winning. And there's only one way to get it, and that's to roll up your sleeves and go for it. I'm not going to be silly about predictions, but I am going to say that I am confident in our group of young players and that they will come good, and there is no reason why they shouldn't go up and make a statement about themselves and come away with the win.
That's Ewan Swinton, always confident, the Director of Rugby at Gala, and they've got a big challenge up at Glasgow Accies today at Annie's Land. OK, we're not far away from kick-off here at Riverside Park. Our full commentary game today is Jedforest at the bottom of Premiership and league leaders, and that of course is Marr. Curry against Kelso in the Premiership. We'll be keeping you up to date with that one. Hawick against Heriots Blues as well. Musselburgh against Glasgow Hawks and Selkirk against Edinburgh Accies. So despite Storm Babette, we do have a full programme in the Premiership. In National 1, GHA v GHK, Glasgow Accies against Gala, and the 2 p.m. kick-off Watsonians against Biggar. We'll get an update on that one very, very shortly. In National 2, Stuart's Melville against Lasswade and Stirling County versus Falkirk, whilst in National 3, Boroughmuir will take on Hillhead Jordan Hill, 6th against 4th there. Howe Fife against Cartha Queen's Park, 5th against 9th. Preston Lodge against Hamilton. That should be a really interesting one. Hamilton not been doing so well in the league, but they have been getting very, very close. Lots of losing bonuses and try bonuses as well. Maybe today is their day at Pennypit today against Preston Lodge, who are going well in 3rd place. West of Scotland against Dumfries is the other match in that division. And then just 2 games going ahead in National 4, Garnock against Murrayfield Wanderers and Stewartry against North Berwick. And if you're fans of the East League and you're in the Borders, Langham against Portobello in East League 1. East League 2, Dalkeith Duns is postponed. East League 2, that big match, Hawick Lindeen against Hawick Quins. They haven't played each other for a long time. A big Hawick derby. There'll be plenty at Volunteer Park, as well as many going to Mansfield Park. And then in East League 3, top of the table clash, Earlston versus Trinity Accies. We'll be keeping our eyes on that one. And East League 3, Gala YM against Edinburgh Northern. OK, we're not far away now, just about a minute from kick-off here at Riverside Park. Jedforest against Marr, top versus bottom. Your commentary team this afternoon is David Ferguson, and first of all, good afternoon to Robin Purdie.
Good afternoon, Stuart, and welcome to Riverside, where these two teams will both be desperate for a win, but for very different reasons. For Jed, if they're going to avoid relegation, then with every passing week the sense of now or never only intensifies. And for Marr, the league leaders will no doubt be starting to think of a home playoff semi-final at Fortress Fullerton. Jed currently sit bottom of the pile, 2 points with no wins from 7. Their squad's been tested to the absolute limit with injuries to key personnel, while others are currently plying their trade on the other side of the world. But they do have a stronger look about them today, and that won't be lost on a Marr side who came unstuck here last season. Looking at the teams for Jed, Lewis Young's at full back. The wings are Gregor Young and Lewis Elder. Dom Buckley and Owen Cranston are the centres, with Mark Glenn and Gary Munro at 9 and 10. Stephen Anderson, Harvey Keith and Harry Meadows are the front row. The middle row's captain Clark Skeldon and Ben Howe, with Dan Wardrop, Blake Roff and Ben Fotheringham making up the back row. Marr have Greg Montgomery at 15, Jack Scott and Scott Bickerstaff are out wide. Captain Connor Bickerstaff and Gregor Paxton are at 12 and 13. Colin Sturgeon's at 10, with Robbie Baird at 9. Ali Rogers, Stu Enrique and Alex Apthorpe packed down in the front row. The locks are David Andrew and Callum Folan, with a back row of Fraser Grant, Kyle Valance and Blair Jardine. The ref today is Rob McDowell, with his assistants being Sam Ramage and Colin George. And with me again today's long-time rugby journalist David Ferguson. So David, there's a lot riding on this one today, with both teams having sort of very different objectives.
Well, there is. I mean, top v bottom, though, you can't see past a Marr win today. It's just, I suppose, seeing what Jed have in them that can provide a bit of confidence for the team and for them going forward from here. But yeah, you know, you mentioned it there, that Marr came unstuck here last season, so you know, and a good number of players back for Jed today. Let's see what kind of challenge they can provide.
The shrill of the referee's whistle will tell you that proceedings are underway. It's been kicked off by Marr, who are attacking what you'd class as the bottom end here at Riverside in their purple strips, yellow trim. Jed in their traditional royal blue strips with white trim. They'll attack the town end. It's been caught by Jed and sent to touch, so the first line out of the afternoon is a good one for Marr, and it's going to give them the chance to truck this up. It looks like the first penalty of the afternoon's about to come. It is indeed. Rob McDowell, this up and coming young referee, has awarded the first penalty to Marr. It's maybe 5 metres inside the Jed 10 metre line, so we'll just wait to see if Colin Sturgeon, second top point scorer in the league this season, will have a crack at the posts here, but it doesn't look like he's called for the tee. No, that's actually Scott Bickerstaff who's coming over. So Scott Bickerstaff's going to send this down the touchline. Decent kick by Bickerstaff, takes it to deep inside the Jed 22, and David, pretty much the perfect start as far as Marr is concerned.
Yeah, certainly they've got the territory. It was just, I mean, Jed tried to clear the lines, but it wasn't a good enough kick up the touch line there by Mark Glenn, I think, young scrum half. So it gives them Marr perfect opportunity.
As the line out comes in, it's well taken in the middle there, so you can bet your bottom dollar that this is going to be rumbled up by Marr. The hooker Riki is at the back of this, and it's inching forward towards the Jed line. Riki still in possession, and Riki's over the line for the first try of the afternoon with little more than a minute on the clock, and that's exactly what Marr wanted, of course, David, but it's exactly what Jed, in the kind of desperate state that they're in, did not want.
I know, we've heard enough from coaches, been pre-match game talks, and at half-time the first thing they say is, let's keep it tight, let's not give away some easy points. Yeah, so it goes against all of that right from the beginning, puts Marr into that lead, you know, that just fills the confidence, you know, that they'll have come down here with already. So for Jed, they knew today was going to be an uphill task. You don't want to lose early points, so they've got to answer to that, you know. They've given them they've seen what happens. You give them easy territory, you give them easy ball, and you know it's very difficult to stop that maul, isn't it? So
yes, it's almost a guaranteed try nowadays, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it's, you know, the Scotland women's team scored, I think, 3 or 4 of them last week, so you know it is an easy way to points. But you've just got to be careful then. Be clever about where you're not giving away penalties. Don't give them easy chances.
As the kick comes in from Sturgeon, and it looks good from here, dissects the uprights from a reasonably tricky angle. So early in the piece, it's Jed 0, Marr 7. Not the start that the home faithful wanted. Jed, as mentioned, just looking a wee bit stronger today. The young twins back in the fold. Dom Buckley back in the centre position as well. Gary Munro at 10. The young, hotly tipped prospect Mark Glenn at 9, and that's gone really deep. The kickoff from Gary Munro, taken in by Sturgeon. Sturgeon's put it down the park, and that's been dropped, but I think it's already, the signal has already been given for a line out, so it's going to be Jed's first possession of any note, right on the Marr 10 metre line. It was a decent clearance from Sturgeon. Over on that far side, it'll be new recruit hooker Harvey Keith, recent Australian recruit, to throw in. Always a pressure situation for the hooker, but that's perfectly done, and it's off the top from Fotheringham. Out to Munro. Blake Ruff's loitering with intent in midfield, and that's a good carry by Ruff. He's manfully filled in at centre in recent weeks to help the cause. Now it's with Harry Meadows, and Harry Meadows has sat a Marr player on his backside, and there's a little snipe there by Mark Glenn. Real battle of the young Tyros at 9 today. 17-year-old Glenn against 18-year-old Baird. That'll be an interesting one, and that's another good carry, second of the afternoon for Blake Ruff. So Jed now looking to get back into this one, having conceded the early try. It remains Jed 0, Marr 7, 4 minutes gone. First carry now for Wardrop, and again, decent effort by him, winning the contact, and you've seen a wee bit of space, Gary Monroe, and he's put that down into 22, and they've done pretty well there, Jed, to feel their way back into this after the early concession.
It's getting your hand on the ball, isn't it? Getting hands on the ball. They're good, as you say, good few carries by players. They're all making yards there, and little snipe as well, by Mark Glenn getting round, all asking questions of Marr, making sure it's not easy for them, and that's what's got the territory. And if you've got your hand on the ball, you've got a bit of territory, that's where you can score some points.
So another Marr line out. Reekie, the try scorer, goes to the tail this time, and it's another good line out by Marr. Inside pass there from inside centre Connor Bickerstaff to one of the on-rushing forwards, takes play on a penalty.
Brilliant.
Yeah, penalty's been conceded.
Blake Roth, I think it was over the top of that.
Yeah, he's a really good start to the game, Blake Roth.
He has 2 great carries. He's shown what he can do. You said he played centre. He ran like a centre, but his footwork is tremendous. Footwork's tremendous. And there, he was right over the ball, and that's exactly what we're talking about. That was Marr. Okay, it was a line, their own line out, in their own 22, but because of the pressure from Jed there, they've got the ball back. That's what they're going to have to do throughout this game. Putting them under pressure in their own line, not accepting, not letting Marr out of that territory easily.
Most definitely, they'll be pleased with the way they've come back into this. The coaches, David Grieve, Ross Goodfellow, Neil Cook, and that's another line out that's right on point, and that gives the Jed forwards a chance to roll things forward. There's a Marr player note. There's a wee bit of truck and trailer, I think, happened there, David, and that's just let Marr off the hook.
Yeah, they were just a bit unfortunate there, because Marr did sack that line out straight away, but they managed to keep it going, them all going, and they went round the side. I thought that was pretty clever by Jed. They got round the side and they kept them all going, even though initially it was pulled down. But yeah, that truck and drill, just too many men ahead of the ball.
Yeah, so it's going to be a Marr scrum, and the Jed chance goes a begging. Young Robbie Baird it will be to feed this one. 23 on his back. This afternoon, he's only 18, straight out of Hutchison's Grammar School. He's part of the Scotland Under-18 Commonwealth Games squad. He scored last week against Currie with his first touch of the ball after coming on, but the Jed scrum has conceded a penalty in favour of Marr, so that will give Marr the perfect opportunity to relieve the slight pressure that they've just been in territory-wise, at least. And again, it'll be Scott Bickerstaff. He's got a meaty left foot. Now as he missed touch with that one, he's gone for the Hollywood kick, and the assistant referee on that far side, Colin George, his flag's gone up, so that's a wonderful clearance, David.
It is. I mean, what a difference that makes. When you have a player that can boot the ball. I mean, that's from 10 metres from his own line.
Yeah.
He's put that onto the 10 metre line in the Jed half.
Yeah, so all of a sudden Jed very much in the attacking ascendancy. Now are defending a line out on their own 10 metre line. The pressure valve has been relieved, and that's another pinpoint line out from the visitors to the tail, and it gives the Burley forwards the chance to come round, and that's a big carry there by Callum Folan, the ex-Melrose man. Baird, their little dummy and go in there. Bickerstaff, and now round the corner comes Ali Rogers, playing on the loose head today, but Jed are making a mess of that, and that looks like it might come back on the Jed side. Good defence there by the home team. Glenn goes out to Howe. Glenn's at the base of this, still inside their own 22. Skeldon's got Meadows, another carry by Meadows, but there's a Marr player in over that. It was Folan again, but it's came back on the Jed side. Now it's out to Cranston. Jed outside centre, he's up and over the 22. Young feeds it to Skeldon. Talismanic figure in the Jed ranks, the captain. 3 tries from 7 so far this season. He's played a bit of Super Rugby as well. Monroe again. Monroe's put that high into the Jed sky. Scott of Currie is under it, and Scott's been well harried there by Lewis Elder, but he's managed to get the ball away to Robbie Baird. Robbie Baird is holding on to that. It's been stolen there by Jed. The hooker, Harvey Keith, doing some good work in there. But the net result is going to be a Jed line out from the fly hack through by Marr, but he very nearly snaffled it the recent signing, and it'll be him to throw into this line out. 5 metres or so inside their own 10-metre line, Jed. And they've showed a bit of composure since conceding the early try in the first 90 seconds. And that's another decent line out. It's palmed back off the top by Ben Fotheringham. And it's back in the hands of Monroe. Monroe weighing up his options, goes for the kick pass, and there looks to be a wee bit of space here if it can be gathered in, and it has been gathered in by Gregor Young, and he's got his twin inside him, Lewis. Oh, but Lewis is bundled. Lewis Young's bundled into touch over on that far side, but innovative play there by Monroe.
That was actually brilliant, to be honest, by Jed there, Robin. I thought, they were under pressure. The ball came back off the line out, but it was messy. It was on the ground because of the pressure from Marr. And still Mark Glenn managed to get to it. He still managed to, despite 2 men on him, he got the ball to his standoff, Gary Monroe. And that was a clever kick by Gary Monroe across the side. Really perfectly weighted for Young to pick it up.
Now Marr have tried to go at the tail again with the line out, and it went way over the top, but Marr player was first to react. Jed a wee bit asleep at the wheel there. They could have snaffled that. And it's another Gary Owen, as it used to be called, by Marr, taken in by Young. Young takes it to deck on his own 10-metre line, but it's been ripped, so say the referee, and it's been then an indiscretion there by Jed. Lewis Young remonstrating with the referee there, but Rob McDowell having none of it. This young Irish referee, and he's the son, David, of a sort of high-level referee, isn't he?
Simon McDowell, and he looks quite like Simon McDowell out there. He is a chip off the old block from Belfast. Just came over here for university, and he's taken up refereeing just like his dad did. Simon McDowell was a long time, people remember the blonde hair, long time Irish referee and touch judge in World Cups. Yep, indeed.
So that penalty, again, the trusty left boot of Scott Bickerstaff has put that to around 10 metres from the Jed line. The last throw, Stu Enrique, went awry, so a bit safer. He's played that to the middle, and this is a bit of a carbon copy of the first line out. But Jed have got players round there. Smart play in there by Skeldon, and that is going to culminate in a Jed scrum. And
that was clever. That was clever there, Robin. Clark Skeldon, as you say, right in there. Blake Roth as well. Made sure they got round very quickly into that, so Marr couldn't get the bodies round behind the maul. That was clever.
Yeah.
Jed have done a number of things really well in opening minutes here. They just have got to be able to turn that into something productive in the scoreboard. At the moment, a lot of it's in their own half, but they are playing well, Jed, at the moment.
Yeah, and the confidence levels will be growing after that early setback, because as you say, they've done a lot of decent stuff. They don't at this stage look like a team that have only managed to amass a couple of points from their opening 7 games. Glenn feeds the scrum, pretty solid scrum from Jed. That enables Fotheringham to pick up and have a go, and he sets it up. This time it goes back to Monroe. Monroe again, another long pass out there to Gregor Young. Gregor Young out the back door to Lewis Young. Lewis Young hassled and harried by Connor Bickerstaff, the Marr captain, tight towards the stand side touchline. That's a decent double up tackle there by Marr on Wardrop, but a penalty's been conceded this time by Marr, and that'll enable Gary Monroe to attempt to stick it as far as he can down the touchline. And David, it was mentioned before the game, for all that the country is in the midst of a storm. I don't know what's happened here, but these are absolutely perfect rugby conditions. Autumnal maybe, but perfect conditions as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's perfect description, Robin. It's an autumnal day, isn't it? But very still.
Yeah.
Not a wind, no rain. I'm sure the players will be delighted. Marr might be quite surprised how good it is. They've got good the weather is that they've got down here in Jed.
Yeah, and Monroe sent that to the halfway line. Now that looked slightly askew, the throw in, but referee and ARs are happy enough, so it's at the base with Glenn to Monroe. Monroe to Buckley. Buckley, who played for Duns last week. Now it's Lewis Young. Lewis Young trying to swat off a couple of tackles. One of them's Gregor Paxton. He's gone to ground now. This time it does come back from Young. So Glenn to Harvey Keith. He's made a decent start to this game. Harvey Keith made his debut a couple of weeks ago against Hawick, and again Jed kicked the touch, but that's gone out in the full, and just little errors, David, just allowing Marr to soak up what Jed are throwing at them.
Yeah, I mean, Jed are working really hard. There's a number of things that are going right for them. They're asking good questions of Marr, but some of the passing there, that passing, good idea, a couple of missed passes, but the passes were slow. They were behind the man, not in front, so they weren't getting on the front foot with any pace. So it was easy enough for Marr to contain them.
Marr have won the line out. 14 minutes gone here. Still Jed 0, Marr 7. Marr up and over the gain line. Baird has a willing runner, and again it's another collision that Marr have won there. David Andrew, the second row. But again, Jed Hands slowing up the ball from that ruck. Apthorpe out the back door to Connor Bickerstaff. He's seen a wee bit of space in behind, but that looks like it's going to run over the try line. So it's going to be dotted down by Gregor Young. And that'll be a drop out from behind the Jed line, and we spoke about that in the Kelso game, David. It almost seems like the recipient team, if you like, are kind of penalised there for what was not the best kick by Connor Bickerstaff. But
I'm a wee bit surprised that Gregor didn't try and move that. He had 2 or 3 players back rather than just wait and touch it down. He could have countered from there.
Yeah, so the dropout's been taken. It was caught by Sturgeon, and he's put it, or given it rather, to Blair Jardine. So impressive last week in the win at home down at Fullerton against Curry. Stu Enrique, try scorer. Now it's Apthorpe, played in the back row last week at number 6, and there's a strong run here. Wee bit of a high tackle in there, possibly on Connor Bickerstaff, and it's been lost, but again there's a Jed infringement. Yeah, the referee's confirming the initial thoughts there. High tackle by the Jed player. Wasn't any degree of sort of nastiness, for want of a better word, but it's in imminently kickable range, so Colin Sturgeon, as you would expect, is going to take a crack at the post, and all of a sudden, David, for all the good work Jed have done, it would appear they're going to go 10-0 adrift. I
know, and it goes back to, goes right back, Robin, to that chance they had the line out. They know they're going to have to take points today. They're going to, whatever chance they get in that Marr 22, and unfortunately a good line out there, it didn't turn into points. Marr have worked their way back, and they've been made to work for it. It's really good. The Jed coaches will be pleased, I think, that Marr haven't come back down the park after scoring after just 1 minute. Second at the second minute for that first try, you were fearing then, weren't you, for Jed?
Definitely.
But they've made Marr work really hard to get those 3 points, so there's a lot for the home team to build on there.
Sturgeon, the penalty to add to his earlier conversion. The try by Stu Enrique. We're 16 minutes gone now. It's Jed 0, Marr 10, but Jed still absolutely in this game as Gary Munro gets ready to take this kick-off. He went very deep with the last one. Jed, as mentioned, attacking the town end in this first half, and that's going to drop in no man's land, and Wardrop's up there contesting it, and it's been knocked on by Wardrop, picked up by the fullback Greg Montgomery, and he's knocked it on, and the advantage was gone. So Jed now up into the 22. Young feeds it inside to Harvey Keith. Marr hands in there, and it looks like it's gone back on. No, Jed have managed to snaffle it again. I think that was Glenn in there doing the donkey work. Young is at the base, given that his scrum half's in the ruck there. Tipped on to Dan Wardrop. Now Glenn's back in his orthodox position, and it's out to Lewis Young. Wee bit of space for Lewis Young. He goes out to Cranston. Cranston has to cut back in field, still in the Marr 22 Jed. Buckley it was, had to hack it back, but lost to Marr. But Marr this time concede the penalty. So Jed have a penalty just inside the Marr 22 on the 15-metre line. So Gary Munro goes to the corner. And no interest there, Munro, it would seem, David, in taking the points on offer. Probably feels that Jed could do with a wee bit more than that to justify what has been a decent start, all in all.
Yeah, they probably could. I'd be tempted to have taken the 3 points, got some points on the scoreboard, and build again, because they've done that. They did brilliant there from that restart. They really put pressure on Marr in their own 22, but at the same time they obviously feel we are putting pressure on Marr, so let's go for it. Let's go for the try.
And the lineouts went pretty well so far, and that one's been equally as good. And Blake Roth has broken off. Roth, he's half a metre from the line, and he's got it back, so Jed probably going to keep it tight here and try and rumble round the corner. Marr defence holding up as it stands. Here they come again. This is classic Clark Skeldon territory, and Jed have scored here. Jed are in for their first try of the afternoon, and it looks like the number 8 from here, Ben Fotheringham. And yeah, I think all in all, Jed have deserved something from the opening 18 minutes.
Definitely have, and there you go. There's me saying, take 3 points, very conservative, boring, in the 22, and they've actually looked at it and said, no, we're in here, we're putting them under pressure, let's go for the 5, let's go for the try and the 7 points, and they've been rewarded. Yeah, definitely, great reward for what they've put in this game so far, Robin.
So, Ben Fotheringham it is. First Jed try. It's going to be a Gary Munro attempted conversion. 7 or 8 metres in from the what's affectionately known as the wee stand here at Riverside. But Jed right back in this. Munro begins his run up. Strikes it well, and that's drifting round beautifully. So 5 becomes 7, and with 19 minutes gone, it's Jed 7, Marr 10. And as it looking at shaping up at the moment, David, to be a decent encounter.
Yeah, and that's going to have set some doubts into the minds of Marr. They came down here, they scored off their first attack, and they thought, yeah, okay, here we go again, we're going to breeze this game. And now they're thinking, actually, it's not going to be as easy as we thought. And it's all down to the pressure that Jed are putting on them, particularly when Marr have got the ball in their own half.
It's been taken in, and that's a huge kick there by Gary Munro from inside his own 22. That takes play up and into the Marr half.
And that's the difference in that first minute. They kicked it from their own 22 and they put it out about 30 metres out, up the park. That is a totally different proposition, in terms of asking Marr, setting a challenge for Marr, what are you going to do from there? In that half, they've got a lot of work to score from here.
Yeah, sweetly struck punt from Gary Munro. Stu Enrique again goes to the tail, and again it's over the tail. It did go backwards, but a Jed player has flopped on it, so here come Jed again inside the Marr half. Rough goes to Munro, and there's a wee bit of space here opening up. Cranston's got Gregor Young. He's going to do well to stay in field here, but he's done exactly that. So here comes Rough again. Bit of footwork, not for the first time this afternoon. Jed now on the fringes of the Marr 22 try scorer Fotheringham. He takes it back into the heavy traffic. Here they come again. Wardrop dummies and goes and gets over the gain line. So Skeldon thought about shipping it out to Harry Meadows, and he's done exactly that now, but not before making 2 or 3 metres. There's a Marr player in over that. But comes back on the Jed side. Munro. Jed sticking in here. Dom Buckley, the latest to hit it up. Maybe 8 or 9 metres from the Marr line now, Jed. The willing worker that is Dan. Wardrop takes it in. He's driven backwards. Didn't have much by way of support, Wardrop, but he's managed to maintain the ball. It's another pirouette in the carry there from Jed. And again glance at the base to Munro. Munro, another long looping pass out to Howe. Flung back inside to Lewis Young. Lewis Young's got a flanker, Blake Roth, for supporting. He's seen a wee bit of space. Roth, he's up towards the line and he's dropped it at the last minute, but
that went back.
That is a
harsh call.
Fumbled by Roth, but it did appear to the naked eye to go backwards.
And maybe took a bounce forward, bounce down, hit the ground forward, and went back. Referee is right there.
Yeah, the referee's right there
as well.
Yeah,
but referee was only a couple of yards away, but that was unlucky for Jed. That was a tremendous attack, and, and it went to the ground. But Blake Roth was on it in a flash, as he has been the whole game. Pounced, and he was over in for a try. If that ball just hadn't bounced forward.
Yeah, but it bounced forward. So say Rob McDowell. So Jed very much at the races here this afternoon. However, belying their lowly league position and their low points total, Blake Roth being particularly impressive. The open side flanker back in his usual back row position. Speaking of back rowers, here's an equally impressive one with a pick up at the base. That's Blair Jardine, almost a permanent fixture. Or it's always almost a toss up every week between him and Jay Linton for the number 8 berth in the offside line team of the week. And he's managed to set a platform just outside the 5 metre line for his team here. Jed players almost straying offside, but the box kick's put in there by Robbie Baird, and it's gone to touch.
I'll just jump in with some latest scores for you. Curry 10, Kelso 0 at Millennium Park. No score between Hoyk and Heriots at Blues at the moment. Jedforest 7, Marr 10 here, of course. Musselburgh 12, Glasgow Hawks 15, and Selkirk 0, Embrackys 8. That's the Premiership scorelines at the moment.
9. Good. And we're back here with the resulting Jed line-out, which has functioned pretty well so far this afternoon. Harvey Keith to throw in, takes the safe option at the front to the try scorer Fotheringham. 23 minutes gone here, still Jed 7, Marr 10. Jed bottom of the table, Marr table toppers as it stand, but Jed giving a good account of themselves so far, and it's back with Munro. Munro, Gregor Young to Cranston, Cranston to Lewis Young. Lewis Young's got Elder in support, comes back in field, but it's been knocked on by Gregor Young when the space had opened up. Now it's Baird for Marr. He sets it back, but he's the scrum half, so an auxiliary's going to have to come in. Now it's Connor Bickerstaff has sent it down the Jed Park, and Mark Glenn is back for the home team. Glenn has a young Lewis Young on the switch, and Lewis Young, it's opened up for him, and he's still off and running. He's got support here from Wardrop, and Wardrop's got a charge towards the line. And what a try this is going to be. You're absolutely right, David, as Wardrop touches it down. Lewis Young rolling back the years, and all of a sudden Jed have their noses in front.
And you know, I was just thinking, I was just bemoaning the Jed handling. You know, a couple of good attacks there, and the ball's not gone to hand. It's been knocked on, and you know, you're thinking, oh, that's, you know, they're getting to the 22, but it's not going further. And then Marr, to be honest, Marr got the ball back. They countered. Marr had an overlap here. It's in their own half, but they had an overlap of 2 or 3 men. They ignored it, kicked the ball downfield, and again it started with, you know, Mark Glenn, scrum half, who decided to run across field. Really, he put the burners on, so he went away across field, took the defenders. Nice wee scissors pass back to Young. Was it Gregor Young? Was it Lewis? Lewis, who took a great line straight up the middle of the park. All the Marr defenders are running across to that right hand side. He takes a straight line. He made a good 30 yards, you know, and then, you know, found, who was it he found there?
It was Dan Wardrop, rampaging blindside flanker.
And you know, there was one missed tackle, one snatch at his ankles, didn't get it, and he's in. What a turnaround in this game.
It certainly is. Jed very much in this contest. Jed 14, Marr 10. 25 minutes gone, and if the men from Troon thought they were going to come across here and have it all their own way, then that's proving not to be the case. The league leaders, but it's back in the hands of their fullback Greg Montgomery, and they're up and into the Jed half. Sturgeon to Connor Bickerstaff. Bickerstaff weighing up the situation, almost 7 style. Comes back in towards the Jed forwards, but a little bit of footwork sees him make another metre or two. Baird to Sturgeon. Sturgeon with a flat pass to Fraser Grant on his 209th appearance for the West Coast men, no less. Baird again. Baird, Sturgeon. Nice little tip on pass, and a wee bit of space opens up, but it's closed well by Lewis Elder on his opposite number, Jack Scott. Marr maintaining possession, not making too much by way of territory. And it's Ali Rogers, Jed player again over that, and the penalty's been awarded to Jed. That's wonderful work over the breakdown there by the big prop Harry Meadows. So much of what's good that's happening in this game at the moment is being played, you know, it's being done by the Riverside man.
Yeah, it is, and Harry Meadows is having a crack.
He is indeed, yeah.
He's had several breaks, big ball carries, it's made ground, and look at the work he's putting in there on the ground.
And Jed decided to run that rather than kick it, the penalty, try and catch Marr unawares, but they have eventually kicked it after it was moved through a couple of pairs of hands, and it's been returned by Marr. So the net result of that is going to be a Jed line out right on the Marr 10 metre line. 27th minute, it's Jed 14, Marr 10, and another wonderful line out by the home team there, which will give them another opportunity to build something. They're going to try and rumble it through the big forwards. Harvey Keith, impressive so far, he's at the tail, but this time it comes out the backs. And there's again Young, one of the twins on the wraparound from Monroe. Monroe's set it up, but there's a counter ruck there by Kyle Valance. Kyle Valance back in the Marr team today for the first time in 2 years. He retired a couple of years ago. And a wee bit of space is opened up there for Stephen Anderson, one of the inexperienced players in the Jed ranks who's stepping up so manfully at the moment, such is the lack of numbers. And it's Valance this time with a carry. Broken hand, seen him retire, but good to see him back in the fold. Over 100 games for the men in purple. And this time it's Baird at the base. Sturgeon's got a runner. That's Bickerstaff. Back to Sturgeon on the wraparound. Now to the outside centre, Gregor Paxton. Paxton comes in field, sizes up his opposite number. Actually, it was Mark Glenn with the attempted tackle, did enough to slow up Paxton. But here comes David Andrew now. Andrew, it's flung out. There was numbers on that far side. Struan Riki it was, but Marr have managed to maintain possession. And the penalty's been conceded by Marr, however, and there's a yellow card in there as well. We wonder what that's for. Yep. Is he taking a man out off the ball? Yeah, but whatever it is, Kyle Valance just mentioned he's returned for the first time in a couple of years after his retirement. Well, he's going to take 10 minutes in the bin, and that gives Jed, David, just more ascendancy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Marr, to be honest, have butchered 2 overlaps there. On the left-hand side, they had a chance there, and you know, and I think you've got to give credit to Jed. Their scramble defence was pretty good, but Gregor Paxton, the outside centre, should have done better. They had Jack Scott on his left. They should have put him in for a try. Didn't. They recycled, went to the other side, and as you say, they had players on the other side as well, and they still didn't make most of that.
Oh, and the Jed line-out has gone awry, and the last man you want it to fall into the hands of from a Jed perspective is Blair Jardine of Marr. He's taken it, big carry up into 22, and the props in unison there. Ali Rogers onto Apthorpe's hauled down. Now it's back with Sturgeon to Paxton. Paxton's seen a wee bit of a gap, and he's through the gap. Paxton up towards the line, last ditch tackle by Mark Glenn, but looking a bit ominous for Jed here. Jed or Marr have maintained possession in the shadow of the Jed posts. 14 man Marr as it stands at the moment, and it's Ali Rogers powering towards the line, but he's held up. The Jed defence stand firm.
We're just going to try Alan Lorimer at Mansfield Park.
The score for Mansfield Park is Hoyt are leading 10 points to 7 after going 5-0 down after 4 minutes, with a try by Paul Christie for Heriots and the conversion by Kuta Kutsuna. But then Kurt Ford kicked a long-range penalty, and in the last minute Connor Sullivan crashed over for a try, which Ford converted for a 10-7 lead.
That's what's happening down at Mansfield Park at the moment. Whilst there's an injury going, I can update you from Lenny Park. It's Curry 10, Kelso 0, Jedforest 14, Marr 10 here after 30 minutes on the clock at Riverside Park. Musselburgh 12, Glasgow Hawks 20 is a latest score at Stony Hill. And over at Philip Hawk at the moment, Selkirk 0, Edinburgh Accies 13. Robbie Chalmers going over for the second try from Edinburgh Accies. And National 1 latest scores we have: GHA 12, GHK 14 and Glasgow Accies 12. Gala 0 is a latest score from Anniesland. Watsonians versus Biggar, a game that kicked off at 2 o'clock. It's currently Watsonians 46, Biggar 24.
Jed have taken the drop out from their own line. It was gathered in by Sturgeon, and he sets Scott Bickerstaff off in a run, but Scott Bickerstaff's tackled outside the Jed 22. Sturgeon again through the hands. Cut back inside Marr as they were getting tight towards the touchline, and that's a counter ruck there. Oh, the referees deemed that to be illegal on the little scrum half. It was Ben Fotheringham with a clear out, wee bit of a mismatch there. But another penalty's been awarded.
Not back 10.
Yeah, not retreated the 10. So Marr, almost as soon as they've been reduced to 14 men for the 10 minutes, David, they've upped the ante.
They have, but Jed have just made a few mistakes, and that just shows how good Marr are. You can't invite them into the game. You can't give them easy possession. They did that with the line out over there. They almost scored, and now they've handed them easy possession again that they haven't defended as well.
Yeah, and they're right up towards the line because they feigned to kick, or everybody in the ground thought they were going to kick to the corner, but it was taken a quick penalty by Scott Bickerstaff, and he got the Jed defence napping, and it's his brother Connor Bickerstaff who's powered over under the posts. And yeah, Jed there, David, just a wee bit of sleep at the wheel.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, Marr, you know, the first 20 minutes or so, Jed really attacked them in defence. You know, they went at them in defence. The intensity was good from Jed. They worked really hard. They got their hands on the ball in some rucks, and they held onto the ball when they had it. In that last few minutes, you've just seen what can happen and how good Marr are if you give them easy ball. They did off the line out there. They attacked. A few missed tackles, and that's when Marr suddenly can open up. You know, they had a great tackle, you know, from Mark Glenn. It was a try-saving tackle just a few moments before then, just in front of the post. But again, I'm not entirely sure whether that was right by the ref in terms of the clear out of the back of the ruck. But he gave it against Jed, and they were caught napping, as you say, just on their standing on their heels. So that's a lesson. You know, Marr have been shown that Jed are in this to play. There's no doubt about that. They've only got 7 minutes their first half to go. Jed have worked really hard in the half, but Jed have learned there that if you allow Marr some easy ball and some easy territory, they're going to score with it. So you can't afford to do that.
And what will disappoint the Jed coaches the most in all of that is the fact that Marr are currently down to 14 men. Kyle Valance, the open side flanker, in the bin, but Marr just winning collisions just too easily if you're from a Jed persuasion in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Gary Monroe will resume play. 34 minutes gone. It's Jed 14, Marr 17 in what will be a closer game than some expected. And again, the huge left boot of Scott Bickerstaff sent it back into Jed territory where it was taken in by Gregor Young, and he's fed his brother Lewis, who's sent it back to Greg Montgomery in the Marr 22. Montgomery the latest to put the bootlaces through it, and again it's taken in by Gregor Young. Flat pass, you could say, to Dom Buckley. Buckley kicks it. Seen a wee bit of space. Buckley now, is that going to drop infield? It dropped right on the line, so Sam Ramage, the assistant referee's going to march Jed back. That's the finest of margins, David. It landed right on the line.
It is, but you know, that's the sort of things you can't afford to do. You're giving them easy ball. Now you're giving easy line out, just 10 metres outside the Jed 22, when Dom didn't have to do that. You know, he could have left it in play even up there, and it would have been easier.
So Marr 5 metres in from the Jed 10 metre line. Now it's back with Sturgeon. The line out was not the cleanest, but they've won it nonetheless. Sturgeon fed it on to Blair Jardine, and as he always does, he made a couple of metres, the number 8. Now it's back with Paxton. Paxton to Scott Bickerstaff. Connor it was with the latest try after the good work by Scott. And here they come again. Marr, Ali Rogers, he's out the back door to Sturgeon. It's that same combination, Sturgeon to Blair Jardine, and Jardine was hit high. So say Rob McDowell. So they're playing with a free ball here, Marr. Now they're into Jed 22, and takes a couple of Jed players to bring down Jack Scott as he tried to free the hands and release the ball to the support. And there's a grubber being put through there by Bickerstaff, and Jed have managed to get back and flop on it over the line, but not enough advantage, so they're going to come back here for a Marr penalty. As you may hear Rob McDowell say, high tackle. It was fairly evident from our vantage point. So this is a kickable one. David, what do you think Marr do here?
Yeah, I mean, if I was Marr, you might feel you just take the points and stretch that leading scoreboard. But Marr, the way they're playing this season, I'm sure they believe they can score get another 7 points.
Well, they've tapped it and gone. And it's David Andrew with the carry. I beg your pardon, it was Apthorpe, the prop, and Jedder again making a wee bit of a mess of that, but squirted back on the Marr side. It's been tidied up now, but again the regular scrum half Robbie Baird's in providing support to the forwards, but it's back with Sturgeon. Sturgeon's harried there by Owen Cranston. Jedder flying into the tackles now. So the little scrum half Robbie Baird takes it, and there's a Jed player in over that. It was Howe, but again it's back on the Marr side. They've managed to maintain possession pretty well, and there's another high tackle in there by Jed. So again Marr playing with a free ball. The referee's going to bring them back, and this time it is bang in front right on the 22. So just a couple of referee signals at this time, David, that Colin Sturgeon is going to step up and take the penalty, but just almost a couple of slightly lazy looking tackles there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, in contrast to the other work that Jed are doing when they're really coming up in numbers and putting in tackles and forcing Marr back. Marr made that tap penalty there inside the 22. They ended up with the attack about almost at the Jed 10 metre line, because of the ferocity of that defence from Jed. So it's not easy, just getting it slightly wrong there in those high tackles. But this is a sign of the respect that Marr have for Jed now, that they're taking these points before half time. Yeah,
and you'd fancy from this position a kicker of the quality of Colin Sturgeon, who's got a conversion and a penalty to his name so far. and he's got a second penalty to go with what is actually his 2 conversions. So another 3 points for Sturgeon. Takes it out to Jed 14, Marr 20, David.
Sorry, Robin. Yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, that shows how much Jed are in this game, that Marr are realising 3 points is important. When we get down there, we need to take the points, and they've done that. That's a big testament to what Jed have put in this first half. And for Jed, you know, they've got to look to see if they can finish this half. There's only a couple of minutes to go with some more points on the board.
Yeah, or at the very least not concede anymore. There's maybe 3 minutes left to go in this half, and that's a well taken kick off there by Jardine, but squirting about the ball there, and it's a wee bit of ping pong back and forth across the top of the ruck, but it's came back on the Marr side just outside the Jed 22, so they'll look to clear their lines. Baird to Bickerstaff, and he's off and running. Scott back inside to Connor, and now to Baird, and there's open prairie in front of Baird, and he's sold the dummy and gone. He's been hauled in by Lewis Young. High tackle, says the referee. And the referees awarded a penalty try, no less. He sort of scragged him by the neck of the shirt, and yellow card's been awarded to Lewis Young as well. And it's just gone from bad to worse from Jed in a period where Marr have been down to 10 men as well. Let's not forget.
That's a really costly last few minutes there for Jed, and losing Lewis Young as well to yellow card at half time. Lewis Young pulling the referee back there to argue with him. Gregor's having to get between them and stop that discussion, but Lewis is not happy. But, I mean, it's the kind of thing Lewis will have done so many times before, and we've seen him in sevens.
Yeah.
You know, he's brilliant at sevens. He gets back rather than going for the legs there. He knew the player. He knew that the scrum half was only a couple of metres away from the line, scoring between the posts, and instead of going for the legs, knowing the boy would just reach over and put the ball down, he scragged him around the top of the shirt and pulled at the jersey, which worked. It stopped him. He was able to hold him off, stop him from getting over the line and scoring the try. But clearly the referee deems that a high tackle because he's caught him round the neckline of the jersey, and they've lost 7 points, and Lewis Young, which is a hell of a way to finish it off.
And Rob McDowell has brought the first half to a close. And all of a sudden it's gone from Jed 14, Marr 10 to Marr having a player in the bin to going to Jed 14, Marr 27. And we spoke about how in this game Jed were, but all of a sudden it looks like they've got a bit of a hill to climb.
Yeah, it's just it's so frustrating. That'll be so frustrating for David Grieve and the boys, the coaches in there, because they've done, for 30 odd minutes of that match, they've done really well, Jed. And as you say, to have it at 14-10 up, after 25 minutes, Jed were doing what nobody probably in this ground thought they were capable of doing, and taking the game to Marr and making sure that when they did get in that 22, they actually scored points and they came away with points. And for a period there, in the middle of that half, it was Jed were the ones in the ascendancy. Marr didn't seem to know what to do about it. But just towards the end of that game, the end of that half, they've given them an easy line out. They gave them a few easy attacks. 2 high tackles, in fact 3 high tackles, have proved really costly. That's what's turned the game round.
Certainly has, and there's daylight between the teams at half time. It's Jed 14, Marr 27.
More from Robin and David later, but after the break we'll catch up the latest scores up and down the country at the halfway stage.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
Borders College is your local community college with qualifications recognised and valued by employers. To find out more, visit borderscollege.ac.uk today. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
Your pet deserves the best, and that's why your pet deserves the care and treatment offered by Border Vets. We focus on delivering the very best care to each and every one of our patients and clients. We get to know you and your pet and offer treatments tailored to every animal's individual needs from our conveniently located surgeries in Galashiels, Selkirk and Earlston. Ask about our Pet Health Club for your cat or dog, giving you peace of mind by spreading the cost of vaccinations, regular checks and more. From dental care to travelling abroad and the whole range of veterinary services, bordervets.co.uk is where you'll find everything you need to know. Border Vets, where your pets are part of our family.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
From Matthew Wilder. Well, if you've just joined us, it's Rugby Radio coming to you live from Riverside Park in Jedburgh with a half-time scoreline in the Premiership. Jedforest 14, it's Marr 27. Jedforest in the lead at 14 points to 10 after 25 minutes, but we see how they come out in the second half. They've got a yellow card, Lewis Young in the bin at the moment. Let's have a look at some of the scorelines up and down the country at the moment. Carry 13, Kelso 3 is a latest score. Hoyk 24, Herits Blues 7 at Mansfield Park. Musselburgh 15, Glasgow Hawks 20. Selkirk 0, Edinburgh Accies 20. That's all in the Premiership. In National 1, it's GHA 17, GHK 14, Glasgow Accies 17, Gala 7, and Watsonians 46, Bigger 24. That was a 2 o'clock kickoff. That's nearing the end at the moment. In National 2, Stirling County 10, Falkirk 24. Falkirk getting the try bonus points already. Into National 3, Boroughmuir 10, Hillhead Jordan Hill 18 and Preston Lodge 19, Hamilton 0 is a latest score in that one. It's half time at the Hawk, Earlston 12, Trinity Aki 17. That's a battle of the unbeaten teams in East League 3, and the latest from Milltown in East League 1, it's Langham 9, Portobello 14. Let's go into East League 2 then, that big local derby. It's Hoyt Lindeen against Hoyt Harlequins, and let's find out the latest from Gary Alexander.
It's been a tight first half at the Volunteer Park. Lindeen struck first after a couple of penalties to touch. Ryan Ali peeled off a line out to go in at the corner. The Quins then responded with Stephen Mabin bursting through to go over at the posts. Adam Hall added the conversion and a couple of penalties before Matthew Marlin had a great break down the middle. When he was tackled, there was a penalty given and Eli Hamilton stroked it through. With no further scoring, the half-time whistle blew with the Quins 13, Lindeen 8, and it's all to play for in the second half.
Gary Alexander there. Jedforest back on the pitch, so is Marr for the second half. So we'll hand you back now to David Ferguson and first of all to Robin Purdie.
Thank you, Stuart. It'll be Jed, who no doubt had the complexion of their half-time team talk changed somewhat with the way the last 10 minutes of that first half panned out. Gary Munro sends it down into the Marr 22 where it's taken in by Sturgeon and returned with interest, but it's not going to go to touch, and Mark Glenn and Gregor Young are under it. Gregor Young goes back to Munro, so Munro hoofs it down the park again, and that's taken in there in the 22 by Jack Scott, the Marr winger. He feeds it inside to Greg Montgomery, and the ball is eventually in touch. Of course, Jed are going to play the first 10 minutes of this half with Lewis Young in the bin. It was his indiscretion, the kind of scrag of the collar of the Marr scrum half, Robbie Baird, as he hurtled towards the line, led to a penalty try, and Young spending 10 minutes on the sidelines. So Jed, however, will try and emulate what Marr did in the first half when they were a man down and put some points on Jed, and that's a decent first line out of the second half, and it's a nice offload by Blake Roth, and there's a high tackle in there on a Jed player, so Jed this time playing with a free ball. And yeah, David, some of the tackling, it's not been particularly ferocious in terms of high tackles, but you know, both sides now guilty of it.
Clearly the referee, Rob McDill, does not like high tackles. He's very hot on them, but at least he's been consistent there.
Yeah.
You know,
fairness,
those three at the end of the first half were very costly to Jed, so they're getting the first high tackle, and he's laying the law down there. So yeah, it's up to Jed as to whether they can finish and take advantage of that in the way that Marr did so clinically in that end of that first half.
The Jed forwards having a chat about what's going to happen at the line out, because Gary Munro has elected not to take the 3 points on offer, even though they were kickable. He sent it down to maybe 10-12 metres from the Marr line. Second throw in of the second half for Harvey Keith, who's been pretty impressive so far, and he's found his man that time as well, and Jed are nudging it forward, and another penalty is coming. So Mark Glenn, this time Munro sees a wee bit of space in behind, and Cranston's after it.
What a
Munro with the assist. Dom Buckley,
Dom
Buckley, the inside centre, on his return to the Jed team after his sojourn to Duns last week. Buckley is the scorer on that occasion, and just as we said, David, there's something about this game. 14 men mean you will score points.
Yeah, and you know, that's a real reward there, and it's a lesson for everybody. When the referee awards a penalty and you've got a free play, you know, don't just kick the ball away. Don't just do something silly. Gary Munro was very clever. He saw that he and a couple of the Jed backs were up in a good line. We chip ahead behind the Marr defence, and it turned out to be an easy try.
And Munro, after his neat assist, has converted that. So 3 minutes into the second half, it's Jed 21, Marr 27.
Quickly go to Mansfield Park, half-time there.
Half-time score at Mansfield Park is Hoyger leading 24 points to 7 with tries from Connor Sutherland, Jay Linton and Kirk Ford, all converted by Ford, who also kicked a penalty for the 24-7 half-time lead.
Scott Bickerstaff, it is Connor Bickerstaff rather, who takes the Marr kick-off after that Jed try by Dom Buckley. Been taken in by Jed just outside the 22. Jed, as a reminder, attacking the bottom end here, but they've spilled the tip-on pass. I think it was Clark Skeldon, the captain, so that's going to hand territory and possession back to Marr, and it's a phrase we use a lot of weeks, David. It's the old coach killer.
Yeah, it is. I think it was actually Ben Howe. I'm not that. I mean, Clark didn't know the pass was coming. Wasn't expecting he was standing there, and it just was thrown against his chest. Just foolish, just daft there. Hold on to that ball. I mean, I was just going to say what a great start to the second half by Jed.
Yeah.
You know, they've gone there, they've scored, they've made this game again, 21-27, and the game's alive again. They've done brilliant. But just what they do in your own 22 is really important in this game. They took advantage of Marr's profligacy in their own 22 in the first half. Now Jed are handing them easy ball in the second.
So it's a Marr scrum about to be fed by Robbie Baird right on the 22, and it's picked up on the base at the base by Blair Jardine. And there's a borderline high tackle in there, but the referee's happy enough with that one on Greg Montgomery. It was one of the Jed centres, but Marr still in possession here. Connor Bickerstaff. He's tackled by Wardrop, one of the Jed try scorers in the first half. Baird again at the base, playing with 23 on his back, but he started the game, and that's a decent carry by David Andrew, the ex-Dumfries Saint. And there's opened up here for Blair Jardine up towards the line, and Jardine crashes over. No sooner have Jed clawed their way back into this than Marr over the whitewash.
Yeah, and you know, just a few missed tackles, you know, and that's what happened. You know, they created a silly pass there that when Jed went from the restart, Jed had the ball, they were in their 22, they just had to work it up out of their 22, and then they could probably have cleared up the park. Instead, a little pass that wasn't on. It creates a knock-on, creates a scrum. Marr have got a scrum suddenly in the Jed 22, and they kept the ball, but there were 2 or 3 missed passes that just allowed them to get in behind, and when that ball came wide, they had an overlap there, so they didn't even have to move it out. Jed were scattered in the defence, and he was able to pick his way through quite easily, Blair Jardine.
Yeah, it was a good finish by Jardine for his second try of the season as we await Sturgeon's conversion attempt. Struck it well, Sturgeon, and over it goes. So Marr out to 30 points to Jed's 21, and the relevance of that try as well as extending the lead, David, is that's Marr's 4th.
Yeah, that's right, it is. But you know, Marr will have expected to come here and get a bonus point, probably. But Jed, you know, they're not out of it. They've just shown.
From yet.
You know, one try, you're back in. You know, close that gap. It's 2 tries at the moment, but close that gap, and you're back within a score.
Monroe sends the restart down into the 22. Jack Scott returns it into the Jed half. Lewis Elders underneath it. He takes it well out to Glenn. Now to Monroe. Monroe sends it back to 22, where positionally Greg Montgomery, the fullback's done pretty well. And this time it does go into touch. But a wee bit of a territorial gain there for Jed. It's going to be a Jed line out on the Marr 10-metre line. And yeah, David, if Jed can score the next try, they're right back in this, but you do feel that if Marr score the next try, then it's quite a long way back.
Yeah, it's probably right. I've been really impressed by Gary Monroe though. You know, the Jed standoff, you know, all the forwards set up here on the far side of the Jed pitch, and he went to the opposite side with a kick-off, asking questions of Marr all the time today, which is why Jed are in this game. And there's a knock-on there by Marr. I don't think the referee's spotted.
It's not been awarded, but Jed have lost that line out. He's been pretty accurate with the arrows, Harvey Keith, this afternoon, but that one didn't go to plan. But Marr have coughed up the penalty on their own 10-metre line, centre field.
Dom Buckley playing like a back row there.
Yeah, where he's more than adept.
Yes.
Dom Buckley.
He knows how to play that.
Yeah. Good play there by the experienced campaigner. And Gary Monroe has punted that from centre field down into the Marr 22. He's made a decent gain there, Monroe. It's going to be a Jed line out almost equidistant between the 22 and the Marr try line. So looking to claw their way back into this as they did just after half time. Of course, they've still got Lewis Young in the bin, Jed. He's maybe got another 2.5 minutes remaining on his sentence, and again it's been palmed back and wasn't the cleanest, but Mark Glenn's got it, and Mark Glenn heads off towards the line. Mark Glenn, what a show of strength for the youngster, and he is there indeed, and all of a sudden right back in it. And that, if nothing else to take from this game, Jed, David, that's a Jed bonus point as well.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's, you know, and Jed have only got 2 points up to this game today. Probably many people out there wouldn't have thought this was the game where Jed might get their 3rd point, if not more. But certainly, you know, we talked about them having players back in the side, players that making a difference. The young brothers, okay, one of them's off at the moment, but they've made a big difference in the first half. But looking at the players there who have been playing, you know, I mean, Mark Glenn's had a cracking game today, and they tried to grab him, one-handed tackle, couldn't hold on to his jersey, and what pace he's got to take it in at the 22 and go scooting down that touchline. Nobody got near him. That was a tremendous
strong play, because he had to mop up the mess in the first instance as well. And let's not forget, this is a kid at 17 years of age. He's still aged to play for Jed Thistle under-18s team. Indeed, he did play for them a couple of weeks ago in the under-18 Scottish Cup up at Orkney. He scored last week against Glasgow Hawks, and he scored here against Marr this afternoon. Trickiest conversion attempt of the afternoon for Gary Munro, and he's pushed that to the right of the uprights. So Jed right back in it, 26 to Marr's 34. As mentioned, Lewis Young still in the bin. He's maybe got less than a minute to go now, so Jed will be looking to soak up anything.
They look like they're trying to get him on now. Here he comes.
Yes, and yeah, he's back into the fray. So they've sort of performed pretty well with 14 men. Scored a couple of tries in that period, as Marr did in the first half when they were a player down. Connor Bickerstaff, it's going to be to get us back underway. And again, as Marr have done all afternoon, he's gone deep with the restarts. Been taken in by Fotheringham. Fotheringham back to Munro. Munro sends it to the touchline. Again, not a bad kick from Munro. It's going to be a Marr line out inside the Jed 10-metre line. And unlike the last time Jed scored, David, the coaches will very much be looking to kind of ride out this period and maintain the foothold they've now got in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And he's just getting hold of the ball and keeping it. But there's a squint line out there from Marr.
Yeah, it's true, Enrique. That was,
you know, Marr are not
playing.
But Jed have got stuck into them early on. You know, after losing that early try, they've taken the game to them in defence. They've really been aggressive and got in at Marr. And Marr have not enjoyed that. And you see that they're top of the league, but they're capable of mistakes.
Yeah,
they've really not been able to get their game firing.
They've certainly not been as impressive as they were against Currie at home last week. Their coach Kenny Diffenthal did say during the week that this is not an easy place to come. They weren't going to take Jed lightly, and that was, he's been vindicated with that.
Well, I think they actually have taken Jed lightly in the first half, and I think they've got a wee of a wake-up call now.
Munro out to Buckley. Buckley's got Young out, Lewis Young out to Gregor Young. He cuts back in field, still going. He wasn't held, Young, so he makes another metre and a half. Glenn is at the base. Fotheringham, he comes back into heavy traffic. Gregor Young holding his head. Munro to Wardrop, one of the Jed try scorers in the first half. He's down on his haunches. Young, and the ball's been ripped by a Marr player, but illegally so, says young referee Rob McDowell. So it's going to be another Jed penalty just inside the Marr half. Centre field, and again that meaty right boot, you'd imagine, of Gary Munro, David, will be sending it to the touchline.
Yeah, indeed. I think they were concerned there about there was a boot certainly went across the head of Gregor Young, right across the top of his head, but I think the touch judge felt it was just an accidental.
And Munro,
oh, that's a cracker.
That is a very decent kick, and it's taken play, I would suggest, 6 metres from the Marr line, from just inside the Marr half, centre field as well. So he struck that as sweet as a nut. Gary Munro, he's been influential this afternoon in this battling Jed cause, as hooker Harvey Keith takes the code from Stephen Anderson, this young and inexperienced prop who another has put himself about this afternoon. So they go safe to the front to Fotheringham, and they've got a wee head of steam on here, Jed, but that's decent defence by Marr, and it's squirted out the back again to Glenn, so Glenn's going to have to come to Munro. Munro jinks back in field. Gregor Young going to play scrum half here. Young to Fotheringham. Fotheringham sets it up for the regular scrum half again. Glenn, Harry Meadows, the latest Jed forward, to try and knock the door down. Blake Rough almost scored in the first half. Rough, he has a crack, but he's hauled to the deck. Glenn's in there again. Glenn, Monroe spins it out to Cranston, loose pass, but it's been taken in there by Lewis Elder. The old bounce pass, Lewis Elder's picked it off the bootstraps and he's in at the corner. And what a game this is, David.
Oh, it's a cracking game to watch. I tell you, the big disappointment probably is that there's so few people here at Jed watching this. You know, there's a big stand we're looking across from the wee stand across the pitch, big stand, pretty empty. You know, there's a good crowd in the hill, there's a bit of crowd at the other side of the stand, but God, they're missing a great game today. If people are having the shops today or sitting at home in Jed, they're missing a cracking game, because Jed are really taking it to Marr. And that was, you wonder, some of those passes, he knew where he was playing. He was playing a missed pass there, but it was almost deliberate, bouncing it off the ground, one bounce, and it was into the hands of Lewis Elder.
Yeah, it always just creates that momentary half second of doubt in the opposition team, and so often it culminates in either a break or a try, a bounce pass.
It does.
As we await the Gary Monroe conversion, this one equally as difficult as his previous one, albeit from the other side of the pitch. He's played very well with the boot, particularly from hand this afternoon, Monroe. That is drifted across the front of the uprights. It was the hardest, most difficult effort of the afternoon by either kicker, but Jed right back in this. What have we, 14 minutes gone in the second half? It's Jed 31, Marr 34. Both the teams with at least one bonus point in the bag, and it's very much all to play for them for the first time this afternoon. The Marr kick-off has given their own forwards the opportunity, but it's been cleanly taken in by Jed. Skeldon has a crack, and as he always does, he breaks the gain line, and Jed player had a snipe there. I think it was Glenn, but the door was shut very quickly on him, and it was shut hard at that. But Jed have managed to maintain possession. Rough, the latest to, Wardrop rather, with Rough in support, the latest to have a crack. Oh, and that's staunch defence again by Marr, this time on the onrushing Fotheringham. And Monroe playing scrum half here, puts the box kick up, and that might give Elder a chance to compete, but it's taken in by Jardine, and Jardine's beat the first man, which was Elder, and he's bumped off another Jed player as well. That's strong play by the Marr number 8, as is his wont. Sturgeon now, and another strong carry there, this time by the returning Kyle Valance. So Marr now with their first territorial sort of advantage, if you like, for a while. They're now up into the Jed 22, looking to get back into the game to an extent, because it's been a lot of it, the play's been in their own half so far this second half, and it's Apthorpe. Apthorpe puts out to Sturgeon. They've got a man over on the far side, and it's fed back inside to, that looks like Callum Ingalls, but he's knocked it on with a line at his mercy, and Jed have done pretty well to repel that, David.
Yeah, it was a great tackle actually by Lewis Elder. On the far side, he had to make that tackle because actually it looked like they had a bit of an overlap, and possibly a 2-on-1, but he drifted out, took the man, took the tackle, and the pass that came back inside knocked on because Jed were covering. Jed covering tackle was coming across quickly.
Yeah. They've just got a wee bit of urgency back about them, Marr. They're going to need it because they're only 3 points to the good.
Yeah, I know. If Gary Monroe's conversions had been over, those last two conversions, they'd have been in lead, Jed, at this stage in the game, which would be phenomenal. Now, they were difficult conversions. You can't take, they were both touchline conversions from Gary Monroe. So, you can't say he should have scored them, but that's how close this game is, and Jed are going to have to show that kind of defence we just saw right now, because Marr looked odds on to be scoring there in the 22, but Jed's defence was good. They're going to have to keep that up, because you imagine there's going to be chances still in this game at both ends.
Yeah, it's been free flowing. Looks like Murray Blair is on for Marr, and there's experience now at scrum half in the shape of Grant Baird. 129th appearance, he's replaced his namesake Robbie, no relation. 7 games for Ayrshire Bulls in the Super Series Sprint, easy for me to say, earlier in the season, or earlier in the year rather, for Grant Baird, so he's a high level performer. Jed have picked that up off the base of the scrum, and they're only a metre or two from their own line. So Monroe, and it's been fumbled, but taken in there by Stephen Anderson, the Jed prop. He mopped it up. Monroe will have a second crack at it. They're going to keep it tight here, Jed, and try and engineer the space to give Monroe for the box kick. which he's going to do this time. Monroe, he's went downfield with it, it's not going to go to touch. So Marr will get the chance to come back, and it's Ingles, the substitute, to Connor Bickerstaff, and Connor Bickerstaff's found a wee bit of space and he dances infield and finds support from open side flanker Valance. Scott Bickerstaff playing scrum half to Ali Rogers, the prop. Rogers sets it up. Baird, Grant Baird, who's come on. There's an element of crossing there. It matters not because it's been dropped by a Marr player. And Jed again have done pretty well to repel that, David.
Yeah, they have. You can see Sturgeon, Colin Sturgeon there, the Marr standoff, furious. He was jumping about because of that knock on. He knows they've had 2 or 3 good chances there, Marr, attacking in the Jed 22, and they've not moved any of them count. Now, a lot of that's down to the Jed defence, but you know, there's a number of mistakes Marr are making as well. If you're being neutral about it, Scott Bickerstaff and Connor Bickerstaff have both made real inroads, and Jed will be a bit annoyed at some of their missed tackles as well that have allowed Marr to get into the 22. But when Marr are there in 22, the amount of defence, the ferocity of the Jed defence and the work rate for each other is tremendous at the moment.
A couple of latest scores. It's Curry 27, Kelso 6, Hoyt 24, Heriots Blues 7, Jedforest here 31, Marr 34, Musselburgh 20, Glasgow Hawks 32, and Selkirk 5, Inbrackies 20.
And somewhere in all of that, what was going to be a Jed scrum turned into a Jed penalty. I don't know if there's a bit of back chat there from a Marr player, but Jed have sent it to the touch line and they've won the resulting line out. So Glenn to Monroe to Buckley. Buckley's sent it down the Jed Park and into the Marr half, and Callum Ingles, who's come on, sent it back to where it came from, into the Jed 22, and he's the real old school spiral kick there. Gets decent distance on it from Monroe, but he's not found touch. So Sturgeon has a dart and he's opened up a wee bit of space here, and there's a man over, and it's forward pass to the full back, and they did have a wee man over there, David, and possibly butchered their chance there.
Yeah, they did, but I tell you what, again, defence. I mean, you know, Gary Monroe wasn't the best of kicks from Gary Monroe out of his 22. He was a bit lazy with it, and he went up the middle of the park, and that allowed Marr to come back. But he made sure he made the tackle when it came back, and there was, you know, it just knocked the pass. It wasn't a perfect pass because he was coming in for the tackle, and somebody else I saw, you know, was lining up the tackle, and I think that just put Marr off there, and so the passes weren't perfect. Again, yeah, Jed defence.
Jed defence. They're playing with vigour here this afternoon, Jed. They've got their tails up. Back to the full quarter after Lewis Young spent 10 minutes in the bin. 20 minutes of this second half gone. It remains Jed 31, Marr 34. Real nip and tuck stuff, belying the league positions of both these teams arguably, as from the scrum Fotheringham picks up and has a run. He set it up, Fotheringham, so Glenn is at the base to Skeldon. Skeldon, that's a strong carry from the big burly Jed captain. Marr have got players in over that, however, and it's been stolen by a Marr player. That's great work over the ruck by Alex Apthorpe. So Marr now in possession up towards the Jed 10 metre line. Scott Bickerstaff out to Ingles. Ingles straightens and sells a dummy, but it's been snaffled there by a Jed player who'd got his body in between the two Marr players and has intercepted the ball, and now he's taking it to deck. So Jed are going to set this up on their own 22, and again Skeldon it is, the workhorse, takes it to ground. This time it comes back to Monroe. Monroe again down the field, and another good clearance kick, and Jed just managing to stave off what Marr are throwing their way at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you know, they're doing the right thing. They knew there, they just had to get the ball back and get it up the field and get out of that 22, and they did that pretty well. I mean, I think it was Gregor Young, I think, that went in and stole that ball on the far side. That was a let-off. I mean, I think Ingles held the ball too long. He was attacking there. He had players. I think you can see the Marr players are jumping up and down. They're not happy. They're not giving the passes at the right time.
So Marr line out, and they've gone cute with it to the front, and it's David Andrew who's taken it and stolen a metre or two. So Marr just inside the Jed half. Baird to Sturgeon to Bickerstaff. That's Connor Bickerstaff. He's got Blair Jardine there for support. Grant Baird's hit hard by a Jed player. Fotheringham borderline above the sternum, but the referee's happy enough, so it's Ingles again. Ingles can play 15 or 10, and at this occasion his first receiver takes it to ground. And a high tackle's been awarded now. So Marr now playing with the free ball as a Jed counter ruck comes in from Cranston, but Sturgeon's got Jardine, and again Jardine gets over the gain line, as he seems to do every single time, no matter the opposition. Now it's out to Connor Bickerstaff. Connor Bickerstaff up to the 22, feeds it back inside to one of the forwards, Valence. Now it's the substitute that's come on, Murray Blair, and he taps it on. This time it is Valence. Baird again. Marr looking keen here, looking interested. Scott Bickerstaff, the latest Marr player to truck it up, and he's made a few metres. Scott Bickerstaff, they're maybe 8 or 9 metres from the Jed line here.
And they've got a huge overlap.
Yeah, they've got an overlap, and it's going to be exploited. Exploited it is by Connor Bickerstaff, the captain, and he is the latest Marr try scorer.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there. There was so many phases. You've got to give credit to Marr. They held the ball really well and they went through the phases. They didn't panic. They lost the ball. One of the passes came back behind the back division. They went back. They picked it up. They went again. And really Jedforest ran out in numbers in defence there. And for Marr, that's what they've got to be learning from. If they can hold on to the ball and keep giving the passes then and go through the phases, they will find ways through. But they haven't been able to do that this half. It's taken them a long time to work that out.
Yeah, they'd lost their composure a wee bit, you could say, but that was certainly composed build-up play, culminating in the second try of the afternoon for Connor Bickerstaff. He's been one of Marr's top performers this afternoon, the captain, ex-Scotland Sevens man. That's his 4th and 5th tries of the season, as tricky conversion will be taken by Colin Sturgeon. Sturgeon starts the run up, struck it well, but drifted. Oh no, it's drifted right between the uprights. The flags go up, so that takes it out to Jed 31, Marr 41. And Jed, David, potentially won't be too perturbed because of how they've reacted to previous Marr tries, particularly in the second half.
No, yeah, and the test now is to see whether Jed actually believe they can go on. They've got a bonus point, yeah. They've done well, they've surprised people, they've shown they can play. Can they actually go on and make this a game right to the end?
The ball was allowed to bounce, the kickoff was allowed to bounce by Marr. A wee bit of confusion reigned in there, and it's been knocked on by Marr and gone over the line. It's gone over the touch line, so Jed may have heard the referee ask them for the option. They're going to take the scrum.
Okay, Curry 41, Kelso 6 is the latest score. Ali McCallum, the latest try scorer. Hoyt 24, Heriots Blues 7. Here it's Jedforest 31, Marr 41, Musselburgh 25, Glasgow Hawks 32. A big fight back from Musselburgh again, both scoring try bonuses so far, and Selkirk making a bit of a comeback as well. Selkirk 10 now, Embrackies 20, tries from Adam McComb and Grant Sutty. In National 1, GHA 27, GHK 14, Glasgow Ackies 29, Gala 14, and it's all over at Marrside. Watsonians 48, Bigger 29.
Jed have taken the scrum. Aidan Bambrick, the man they call Bambi, is on for Jed. And there's a wraparound here from one Youngtown to the other. It was Gregor to Lewis. Now it's Gregor, picks up and has a dart. It's gone backwards, says the referee, having gone to ground. So Clark Skeldon mops it up, and it's flung back with gay abandon by a Jed player. And Gary Monroe tried to trap it, messy style, when he'd been better served flopping on it. And that gives Marr the chance to retrieve the ball and clear their lines up into the 20, the Jed half. And Lewis Young's been caught in possession by Apthorpe, but he's had the strength and presence of mind, Young, to get to ground. And Bambrick it is to Monroe. Monroe to another Jed substitute that's come on, and that's a good carry by Jamie Hind. Jamie Hind feeds it inside to Stephen Anderson. Marr players over that. That was the winger Jack Scott who was trying to snaffle it, but again Jed got possession, and Dom Buckley sends it down into Marr 22, where Greg Montgomery, the fullback, awaits the bouncing ball, takes off on a run. Montgomery, it looked like he was going to shape to kick, and he's tackled well by the Jed defender there, but he's managed to get it back. So Baird, the counter ruck comes in from a Jed player, but Baird managed to get away. Again, Jed players in over the next ruck there, but again back on the Marr side. So Ingalls again playing first receiver out to Sturgeon, to Scott Bickerstaff. Bickerstaff grubbers it through and it trundles over the line for a Jed line out. 27 minutes of this second half gone. It's Marr 31, Jed 41. Both these sides have a try bonus point as it stands.
Quickly tell you about National 2, Stirling County 20, Falkirk 24, the latest score there. In Division 3, Boroughmuir 15, Hillhead Jordanhill 32 and Preston Lodge 19, Hamilton 0.
So the line out has been taken by Marr and it's not the cleanest, and now it looks to have been knocked on by the retreating Grant Baird. So it's going to be a Jed scrum, and with 12 minutes or so remaining on the clock, David, do you feel that Jed could do something fairly quickly?
Yeah, they could, and they've brought some subs off the bench. It's important because I think there's a number of the players, big players out there, are looking tired. I think the young brothers, are starting to put a lot into this game. Big number 8, Ben Fotheringham, the way he threw the ball away there, loose pass earlier on when Jed were attacking the 22, looked a sign of tiredness to me. Don Buckley as well, looking a bit tired. So, I think for Jed, it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the Marr half. They've got themselves into the Marr half again. They've got to try and see if they can work that scoreboard.
Bambrick feeds the scrum. Jed just inside the Marr half. And it's inching forward. But Marr players dived in at the feet of Fotheringham there, and he's remonstrating with the referee, but Marr have now knocked it on. Just to kind of update on what happened there. Jed did have an advancing scrum, and it looked to be at the feet of the number 8, Ben Fotheringham, but the referee deemed that the ball was out, so it was flopped on by a Marr player, but in all of that, Marr have subsequently knocked it on, so it's going to be another Jed scrum.
The scrum was better than they expected. They drove it that quickly that they left the ball out the back, unfortunately, and Marr reacted to it.
So another Jed scrum, 10 metres back from where the previous one was. And again, it'll be Bambrick to feed. But yeah, Jed scrums went pretty well this afternoon. They've had at least parity against a Marr scrum that performed pretty admirably against Curry, no less, last week. And again, they've managed to just kind of exert a bit of pressure on Marr there. Buckley, good footwork by Buckley, and he goes to Cranston, but it's been thrown back to nobody in particular. Now, Marr players managed to get back and drop on it. Now that's been put into acres of space by Connor Bickerstaff. Young's gone back, Lewis Young, and his kick's been charged down, and it's been almost, it should have been gathered by Apthorpe. He's the latest to knock it on, and just a wee bit of afters there.
That could be
and the penalty's been awarded against Apthorpe, and we know, David, that there's just a wee bit of history in recent times between these two teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, and when tiredness creeps in, that can happen. Mistakes happen, and players get frustrated. But that's where Jed have got to hold keep the head, keep this together, because this has been a good performance, and it would be a fantastic performance if they could actually go on, score again. They get down the park and they score. They score a try, and we've seen they're capable of doing it in this game. They go down and do it again, then the game's there for the taking.
Yeah, and I recall in this exact fixture last year, Jed were a similar deficit with 10 minutes to go, and they came back and won that last kick of the game, a penalty from Finn Scott. Rapturous scenes here on that occasion. It was a victory that some might say was against the run of play, but they won it nonetheless, and they'll be looking to do the same here as they've taken that line out cleanly from the penalty that was put down the touchline by Gary Monroe, who's been really impressive this afternoon. And now Jed giving it width to Gregor Young. It's indeed Gregor Young, judging by the different coloured boots to his twin Lewis. Blake Roth, another strong performer for Jed. He carries it up, and the ball's gone loose and been knocked on though, and it's been dropped on by David Andrew, the Marr second row, just inside their own half, and things just starting to get a wee bit niggly. There's another couple of players at it here. Bambrick for Jed. He's going to be supported by Jamie Hind. No, Jamie Hind drags him away. So the play continues, and it's with Connor Bickerstaff just outside the Jed 22. Bickerstaff grubbers it through. Montgomery's after this for Marr, but it's been dotted down behind the try line by a tired looking Owen Cranston, and you mentioned it, David, some of the players just starting to look a wee bit weary of limb.
And you know, I was thinking that Marr, top of the league, the way they've gone, they may be fitter and they may be able to take the advantage of that in the last 10-15 minutes. But actually, that was a sign of Marr being quite tired. A wee chip through when they had men outside. That was a silly decision by Marr, and it's given Jed the chance to clear from their own 22, their own line, I should say.
Yeah, and it's Gary Munro. Sturgeon takes it just inside his own half, and he's up and over the Jed 10-metre line. Still going Sturgeon, hit there by his opposite number, Gary Munro, who chased his own kick. Baird. Marr forwards, looking to do the donkey work here. Set the platform with 8 minutes remaining. And there's a tip-on pass from one front rower to another. That was Ali Rogers to his hooker, Stu Enrique, scorer of the first try, with a little more than a minute on the clock this afternoon. And it's, again, just got a bit loose from Marr, so Ingles has had to come back into his own half to retrieve it. Ingles has played pretty well since he entered the fray, it has to be said. Baird, scrum half, out to Mr. Consistency, Blair Jardine. Now it's Scott Bickerstaff playing first receiver. Baird again to Sturgeon. Sturgeon to Connor Bickerstaff, and he's got Ingles. Ingles sells a dummy and goes. He's tackled by Cranston. Montgomery's there for support. There's another couple of Marr players, one of which is Kyle Valance. It's fed out by Valance, and Jed have pinched that.
Huge tackle.
Yeah.
Huge tackle there by Blake Roth. You know, still going. He was like that in the first minute and still going, you know, towards the end of the game, putting in a big hit there, you know, on big ball carrier from Marr that has killed that Marr attack. Stone dead on the Jed 22.
Desperate stuff by the Kiwi flanker, who's been really impressive this afternoon. Dual representation for you this afternoon, David. The offside line, you'll have a man of the match to pick, no doubt, and one would imagine that he will be there or thereabouts.
Definitely a candidate. You have to say at this moment in time that, you know, Marr are leading.
Time off.
But they haven't impressed in a number of their players. Their big players haven't really stepped up and taken things forward. Yeah, Connor Bickerstaff's had quite a good game. Scott Bickerstaff as well. You know, Sturgeon's done what's asked of him, but they've not excelled. Whereas the Jed players, a number of Jed players in that team that have really played out their skins today.
Yeah, that was the difference.
Okay, some latest scores. It's Curry 41, Kelso 13. Kelso getting a try under the post at last for all their efforts. Hoyt 24, Heriots Blues 7. Musselburgh taking the lead. Musselburgh 37, Glasgow Hawks 32. Remember, they were 27 points to 15 down. In National 1, it's GHA 27, GHK 14. Glasgow Accies 36, Gala 14 now. And the result from earlier, Watsonians 48, Biggar 29. And in National 2, it's Stirling County 20. Falkirk 31 and Boroughmuir 15, Hillhead 32.
Jed tried to be innovative with a line out, and it was a wee bit of a mess in all honesty, but they've managed to maintain possession. That's a strong carry in the midfield by the substitute Jamie Hind, and they've got a man over on the near side, and it's Wardrop here. Oh, Wardrop didn't pass it to anybody in particular. There was a couple of Jed players outside him and he put it right between them, and now Marr starting to harry Jed, and it's Kyle Valance up with the tackle. Bambrick though to Munro. Munro's going for a 50-22 here, David. And he's ruled it off. That's the kick of the day for me.
He has, you know, we're talking about man of the match candidates here today, and he's been a standout today. Some of his kicking, they were under pressure there in their own half, knocked back from the Marr 10 metre, back into their own half from that line out, and he pulls out the drawer of a cracking 50-22, which gives them that line out platform.
Quicker update for you. Musselburgh 37, Glasgow Hawks 37.
Wow.
Numbers?
What a game that must be up at Musselburgh.
And that'd be a good result for Borders teams, neither of them winning.
Yeah, that would.
Well, they both got 3 points at the moment.
3 points, yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's a fair call. So Jed line out from the 50-22, and it's gone right over the tail and gobbled up there by Blair Jardine. But he's tackled by Blake Roth, who's been everywhere this afternoon. But it's Marr who are in possession as the clock ticks down. Maybe 5 minutes remaining. It remains Jed 31, Marr 41. Jed needs something pretty quickly if they're going to emerge victorious. But there's been a charge down kick, and it's fallen into the bread basket of the winger Jack Scott. And Jack Scott's off and running, and he's sent the kick down into Jed 22 from in the Marr 22. Jed are having to hastily retreat, but Young's done brilliantly there, Lewis Young. Shades of one of the Jed tries in the first half, but it's been stolen, illegally so though, by Valence. So Jed are going to get another penalty here, but instead of the line out being deep in the Marr 22, it's the kick's going to be by Monroe from almost halfway between the Jed 22 and the 10 metre line. But he struck it pretty well, Monroe, and that takes play up towards the Marr 10 metre line, where it'll be another Jed line out to be thrown in by recent signing, the Australian Harvey Keith, the ex-military man, who's looking so far like a reasonably handy acquisition at a time when Jed are fairly short of numbers. So we just await the throw in, and he plays it safe this time, and he goes to Fotheringham, who's been a pretty reliable source in the middle of that line out. Jed trying to drive this ball forward, and it's came back now to Bambrick. Bambrick to Monroe. Monroe to Cranston. Cranston, that's hit off the back of a Marr player as he tried to kick it through, and it's fallen into the hands of Montgomery. So Montgomery now to Sturgeon of Marr, up and into the Jed half. Sturgeon looking to set this back. Connor Bickerstaff in, looking to play scrum half, and he fires out there to the hooker, Struan Riki. Now it's back with Valence. Valence is tackled by his opposite number, Roth. But Marr forwards just starting to win collisions in the last phase of play. Jed forwards arguably been on top for much of this second half, but here come Marr again, and that's a missed pass out to Scott Bickerstaff, and it was right in front of him. He wasn't able to gather it in, and a few words being exchanged there between Bickerstaff and Bambrick. And it's going to be a Jed scrum right in front of our vantage point here.
Let's quickly go to Mansfield Park. Alan Lorimer.
The score from Mansfield Park is Hawick are leading 38 points to 27, leading 24-7 at half time. They were rocked by a try from Kenta Kutsuna, which brought Heriots back into the game, scored 24-12. But then Hawick kicked off with an Owen Gray try and then an Andrew Mitchell try to lead 36-14, Ford converting both of them. But Heriots have hit back with a try by Peter Burns and then one by Paul Christie to make the current score 38-27.
So Jed have taken the scrum. There's maybe a minute or two remaining on the clock. Bambrick fires it out to Monroe. Jed just inside their own half here. Cranston, missed pass out to substitute that's come on and made a wee bit of ground there, Brodie Irvin. Cranston plays scrum half to Blake Roth. Blake Roth's been willing this afternoon as he held onto that a fraction too long. A Marr player, no, he's instructed to leave it by the referee, and he does exactly that. So little half break there, frees the hand, Stephen Anderson. Now Jed still in possession here. Jamie Ferguson's on. Ferguson feeds it back inside to Young. Now they're up to the 22. Bambrick's shoving bodies out the way to try and fish for the ball. Bambrick comes out to Harry Meadows, probably going to go do the full shift, the Burley prop. Bambrick to the substitute, Jamie Hind, who's made another few metres. He's played really well since he came in. Jamie Hind. Jed now centre field inside the Marr 22, looking for a losing bonus point from all of this. They've got a try bonus point in the bag, but they still trail by 10. It's Jed 31, Marr 41. Monroe shapes to go one way, comes back the other. Oh, it's been knocked on there.
Hasn't seen it.
Yeah, the referee has seen it now, and there's afters again here. Gregor Young's never going to shy away from that. Gregor Young and Apthorpe. Apthorpe's been in the ear of a couple of Jed players, and we know there's history here between these two. And Lewis Young's in now. He's already been in the sin bin. Lewis Young, he'd be well advised to walk away from this. Jed don't need any suspensions, such as their predicament. Verbals being exchanged there, and Ali Rogers is in as well, and all handbags. David.
Yeah, I know. It's
and the referee,
shame that's it.
after the pushing and shoving session, the shrill of the whistle will tell you that he's brought the game to a close, and David, what a game it's been.
Yeah, it's been a cracking game. It's been excellent, and you know, you have to wonder when you see that's the first time I've seen Jedforest this season, and I know they've got a lot of players back today. They've been missing some players, but you know, you've got to wonder why they are bottom of the league when they can produce that kind of play. And just in that last few minutes there, Robin, we saw when they do handle well and they do put the passes along waist height, and they've got boys running onto it. They're very dangerous. They're a very dangerous team, and you know, it was you know, they thoroughly deserved their tries today, their bonus point. It's just a pity that they didn't manage to take Marr right to the wire, because I think they had the capability today to actually win that game.
So just keep a wee eye on this, because there's still words being exchanged and there's a little bit of pushing and shoving, but no, I think everyone's been placated there as the players trudge from the field. Next up for Marr, it's home comforts against Musselburgh, who'll head through to Fullerton, and there's a real mouth-watering border ding-dong shaping up down at Poynter Park, where Jed will head to face Kelso. And on this evidence, David, Jed can go into that full of hope.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what Jed have got to take from this. They've just played against the team at the top of the league, you know, that have been beating a number of teams well, and you know, they've taken them right to the end here, right to the wire. And there's no doubt that a couple of balls stayed in hand, a couple of line-outs, crucially just in that second half when they were down there, a good 50-22. If they'd taken that line out, they could have made it even closer at the end if they'd just finished off a couple of chances. And so, you know, that's impressive by Jed today. They have to look to build on this going forward. For Marr, I think it was a lesson for Marr today that any thoughts they might have had that the Championship, the Premiership is theirs, and it's just a matter of playing through the games to it is got to be rethought. That's for sure, because Jed have given them a bit of a bloody nose today, and you know, if, as I say, if things had gone slightly differently, a few line-outs, a few hands gone to a few high tackles in that first half, we could have seen Jed winning that today.
We could indeed, but it's Marr that emerged victorious from this enthralling game at Riverside Park. It's finished Jed 31, Marr 41.
Robin Purdie and also David Ferguson. It ended a win for Marr here at Riverside Park, 41 points to 31. We'll be getting reaction from both camps, as well as taking a look at the scores as they come in from across the country, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back very, very soon.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
Borders College is your local community college. Why not read about the successes of former students, from successful businesses to top sports athletes? We love to share their successes and hear from former students. If that's you, get in touch and tell us about your own success. Read the success stories and tell us about yours right now at borderscollege.ac.uk. Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com. Brave the storm.
This is Rugby Radio, brought to you by Borders College.
And the same voice coming to me like it's all slowing
never easy. When I look on your eyes, then I find that I'll define. When I look on your eyes, then I'll do better. I was the one that you know, I was just sorry ever after. 74, 75, giving me more and I'll define, 'cause you're really only after 74, 75. Got no reason, coming to me in the rain, running down. There's no reason. When I look on your eyes, then I find that I'll define. When I look on your eyes, then I'll do better. I was the one who let you know, I was just sorry ever after. 74, 75, giving me more and I'll define, 'cause you're really only after 74, 75. I was the one to let you know, I was just sorry ever after. 74, 75, giving me more and I'll define, 'cause you're really only after 74, 75.
Music from the Connells from North America. Well, it's ended here at Riverside Park. It's Jedforest 31, Marr 41. Robin Purdie is now with the Marr captain, Conor Bickerstaff.
Conor, congratulations. First of all, on the victory. You guys got off to the perfect start. You know, starts don't get much better than that. But Jed came back into it. Did their level of performance in that period maybe catch you on the hop a wee bit?
It did a wee bit, yeah. Like you said, it was a good start to get an early try, but straight from the kick-off, you know, we thought we got a good exit, but in typical Jed fashion, they put us under pressure, and you know, get them getting on the board early, kind of not surprises. We knew they would come at us, but it's not what you want when you score early. You want to keep on that pressure and keep adding to the scoreboard. So it was it was tough.
But you kind of weathered a lot of that, and you're a really strong end to the first half, much of which was with a man in the bin. You were 13 points up going down the tunnel. Did you feel it was in the bag at that point?
I wouldn't say in the bag, no. I think we learned from last season down here when we thought it was in the bag with 5 to go. We ended up drawing the game, I think it was. So, no, we always know we have to keep playing. Even with the man in the bin, we had to kind of play a good level of rugby, but we had to kind of focus and come back out again.
And Jed really had they had a good go at you in the second half, but you managed to weather the storm again and leave with the 5 points, while arguably not being probably your high-flying best today. But that's what the top teams do.
Yeah, I think there's been a few games this season where we've not really played our best. Away to Accies, we managed to come out of a win, and today we've done the same. Especially after I think Jed scored 2 tries when they were down to 14 men and really put us under pressure. I think it was a 3-point game at one point. So great to come away with 5 points from the Borders. It's always tough. I think Jed showed kind of more of their qualities today compared to what they might have had this season so far. So yeah, delighted with the 5. I think the 31 points conceded is a bit disappointing for us, so we need to work on that this week.
And as you mentioned, 5 points heading back to Fullerton. At what point do you start to talk about home semi-finals and not just semi-finals?
It's a good question. I think we're coming up. We've got one more game before return of the fixtures. We've got Musselburgh at home next week. You're doing really well at the moment, so we need to get boys back in. And a few younger lads came in today, and maybe had a wee bit of an up and down game. So we just need to get everyone on the same level and focus for the Musselburgh game next week. That's cliche, game by game, but it's we're sitting up there, but we need to keep focused. We've got tough border games to come. We've got tough away games away to Purdie and the like, so just need to keep going and hopefully pick up wins. And
you mentioned it's Musselburgh at Fortress Fullerton next week. What might be the work-ons this week in training in anticipation of that one?
I think it's got to be our defence. I think conceding 31 points is quite disappointing for us. I'm not saying that we're coming down here expecting to hold them out to nil like Hoyt did a couple of weeks ago, but I think we've got to tighten up, not concede weak tries as I'd class them as, and one-on-one missed tackles and mistakes. So got to tighten up. I think we're always confident when we get in the red zone we can come away with points, but tidy up the other end and not concede as many.
Well, Connor, thanks very much for that. Congratulations on a well-earned 5-pointer. Go over beer.
Cheers, thank you.
Quick look at some of the results that we've got for you today. Curry 48-13 against Kelso in the Premiership. That match played at Millennium Park. Latest we have is Hoyt 38, Heriots Blues 27. That's not confirmed as yet. Jedforest 31, Marr 41 was the game you've been listening to all afternoon today. And extraordinary match at Stony Hill. Musselburgh 42, Glasgow Hawks 42. So 3 points each for both those teams. That means, of course, Musselburgh will climb the table a wee bit. In fact, we'll have a look at the table. This is provisionally, don't take it gospel at the moment, but we think it's Marr top of the table with 35 points. Second, Hoyt, if it stays that way, will have 32. Heriots Blues, they will stay third. They'll either have 30 or 29 points. And fourth place, Curry on 27. Fifth, Edinburgh Accies on 24. They go above Musselburgh, who are on 6th now with 24. Glasgow Hawks climb up a place as well into 7th. They're on 16 on points difference from Kelso, who dropped down to 8th. Selkirk in 9th and Jedforest in 10th position. So I'll just bring in Robin for a moment there. The three Borders teams at the bottom, 8, 9 and 10.
Doesn't make for great reading, of course, Stuart, but certainly it would appear that the three of them have performed pretty well today in adversity. Certainly here at Riverside, Jed have put up a really good fight, probably more than many would have predicted, and they emerged from this game with their heads held high. And I think Selkirk will take a couple of points from that game potentially against Accies and get Kelso. It was never going to be easy for Kelso going to Millennium. As I said in the preview show, they'll have other games that they'll target as opposed to that one.
And confirm the Hoyt scoreline now from Mansfield Park. Hoyt 45, Heriots Blues 33. Just putting on the headphones now is Clark Skeldon from Jedforest, the Jedforest captain, and he's talking to Robin Purdie.
Clark, commiserations first of all on the defeat. You conceded very early in the piece. It wasn't the ideal start, but my word, the heads didn't go down and you came right back into it.
Nah, that's kind of what we spoke about coming in, just staying in the fight. And we knew Marr would be well drilled, and we know they're a good team, but we was trying to stay in that fight as long as we could and try and make it uncomfortable for them. And we've done that. I'm proud of the boys today, dug in.
And you were in the ascendancy for much of the first half, but the last 10 minutes seen Marr pull adrift a bit. I guess that changed the complexion of the half-time team talk.
Yeah, a couple of poor scores to concede just before half-time. The one off the kick-off right on half-time killed us. That's probably the difference in the end. That and the yellow card. But even to come out in the second half and put a couple of tries in them at 14 men, it's take a lot of confidence for that. Disappointed only at 1 point for the game. Even if we could have gotten over for 2 points at the end there, but. A great shift for the boys, and it's definitely, it's scary to think what we could do if we could put that team out every week.
Yeah, and into the second half, you came out like men possessed, and you must be very proud, and not just the effort, but also the level of performance today.
I think the effort's always been there. The last few weeks, there's no shortness of effort. Whoever's pulling the jersey on, they're all trying, but you can't have that experience back. The difference that the Twins and Dom making that backline, it's second to none. Big Ben for them had a great game at 8 today and all, so it's there. It's just try to piece it together every week now, and I suppose it's a point gain. Marr top of the league, but we need to build for this.
And looking forward to next week, Kelso v Jed, back in the big league for the first time, and goodness knows how long. That really is a mouth-watering prospect for for local rugby fans. There's obviously a long-standing rivalry between the two clubs, but you guys head into that in decent fettle, I would imagine, after the performance today.
I mean, we'll not get too carried away. It's a decent performance, but ultimately it's only 1 point. And we know Kelso have been going alright. They've got some good players as well. So now we'll get fired up through the week and try and get everybody down and prepare as well as we can for next week. But that'll give us a bit of confidence going into that. So we needed that. And
I think just with the way it went today, that will encourage boys to continue training or to come back to training, or it just sends out a pretty good message.
Well, that's the hope. Obviously when you're winning and you're doing well, it's always easier to get into training. But just try and keep these boys about and stick together, and try and get through the hard times, and hopefully the good times will come. But it's definitely a step in the right direction today.
Well, Clark, thanks for joining us. Commiserations, but as you say, definitely a step in the right direction.
I hope so.
There we are, and that's Clark Skeldon, captain of Jedforest, talking to Robin Purdie there. Let's have a look at the National 1 table now then, the way it stands. Unofficially, Ayr at the top 33. Of course, they didn't play against Highland today. That was one of the matches that was postponed. It means that Glasgow Accies, who we think have won against Gala today, we're just waiting on confirmation on that result. A win, we think, 27 points in second place, and they'll go ahead of Highland on points difference, who are on 27, but they didn't play today. I can tell you that Stuart's Melville 10, Lasswade 31 has just popped in. West of Scotland 38, Dumfries 20 is our final scoreline in that division as well. So certainly Ayr remain at the top today, but Glasgow Accies, their win against Gala has certainly helped them up with 27 points, the same as Highland. GHA up to 23, Watsonians 19, Melrose 18, and then it's Dundee 15 who didn't play today, Gala 13, GHK 13 and Biggar 7. That's the way it looks. That's all unofficial, of course, at the moment. Well, Robin Purdie still with me. Some interesting games without question today, and going back to this one at Riverside Park, Jedforest, I don't think anyone would have expected them to put 31 points on Marr, and I don't think anyone has put 31 points on Marr this season.
I think if we're being very candidly honest, nobody expected Jed to be as competitive as they were against the league leaders today. But as Big Skelly said there in his interview, they've got a few boys back, and that just, the Dom Buckley's being in there and the Youngs being in there and Clark himself, it just gives everybody a lift. Now, there's boys playing for Jed today that I've not seen before. Harvey Keith, Stephen Anderson, Ben Howe. They really did put themselves about, along with some of the experienced campaigners that had, good games today. The back row in particular, Dan Wardrop, he was on the score sheet, Ben Fotheringham was on the score sheet, Blake Roth I thought was absolutely immense, and yeah, Jed can take a lot from this today, and as I said to Clark, I think that looks like a mouth-watering occasion down at Poynter next week.
It certainly does. GHA 41, GHK 14 was a full-time result. We're still waiting on the Anniesland results to come through. The last I heard, Glasgow Accies 36, Gala 14, but Glasgow Accies certainly in cruise control there with another big win for them. Watsonians 46, Biggar 29 was a full-time result in National 1 as well. Biggar still looking for their first win of the season, and I mentioned in National 2, Stuart's Melville 10, Lasswade 31 and Stirling County 20. Falkirk 31 is the latest score. We're still waiting on full-time there. Boroughmuir and Hillhead Jordan Hill in National 3, that ended Boroughmuir 22, Hillhead Jordan Hill 32. Preston Lodge 71, Hamilton 19. Hamilton still without a win, and West of Scotland 38, Dumfries 20. Still waiting on Howe Fife against Cartha Queen's Park. Into the East League, I can tell you it ended Langham 21, Portobello 52. A big defeat for Langham at home at Milntown, and Earlston 31, Trinity Accies 30 in the big game of the unbeaten teams there. Earlston still unbeaten at the top of the table. Fantastic season they're having in East League 3. In East League 2, Dalkeith Duns was postponed, but I think we can go to Volunteer Park now. Hoyk Lindeen against Hoyk Quins waiting for us there. Gary Alexander.
After a tight first half in which the Quins led 13-8, they then stretched their lead quickly after the turnaround when Greg Walker went over at the post, converted by Adam Hall. Hall then kicked another penalty goal to make it 23-8 before the Lindeen struck back. Justin Tate fed Matthew Mallon from a scrum, and Mallon got round 2 men to score at the corner to make it 23-13 to the Quins with 22 minutes still to play. Although both teams went hammer and tongs at each other, there was no further additions to the scoreboard, and the final score in the Hawick Derby was Hawick Lindeen 13, Hawick Harlequins 23.
And you can see highlights of that one. Ewan Welsh was down there for us as well. He was filming the game, a big Hawick derby, and you can't underestimate, can you, Robin, how big these games are, and they haven't played each other for quite some time.
Absolutely. We said in the preview show that had the makings of a great occasion, and it seems to have been the case. And yeah, it's just great to see, and I mentioned it again, that the town of Hawick, which is it's not a massive town by any stretch of the imagination, but they have 3 fully functioning rugby clubs, and it really is remarkable.
Yeah, it certainly is. And a quick look at next week, because you mentioned it's Derby Day, isn't it? There's obviously Berwick against Peebles in National 2, all subject to the weather, of course. Kelso against Jed, you've got Hawick against Selkirk, and that's at Mansfield Park again.
Yeah, and a good win for Hawick today against Heriots, who started the day in 3rd, and that gives Hawick a fillip, of course, going into the Border Derby. They've had problems against Selkirk in recent years. Selkirk have given them a run at least, but yeah, you fancy, the table doesn't lie, and you fancy going into that one that Hawick will be looking to emerge from, what's sure to be a battle, but they'll be looking to kick on and emerge from that with 5 points. But yeah, they won't have it all their own way against Selkirk.
The closing headlines tonight in the Premiership: there were wins for Curry, for Hawick, for Marr, for Edinburgh Accies, and of course a draw, a 42-42 draw. We certainly bring you the draws on this programme, don't we? Musselburgh against Glasgow Hawks at Stony Hill. That was some match today over there, both teams getting 3 valuable points. In National 1, victories went to GHA, Glasgow Accies and Watsonians, and the rest of the results from Divisions 2, 3 and 4 will appear on our website at rugbyradio.co.uk as soon as they come in. We'll be back next Saturday when we're back in the Premiership with obviously a match between Kelso and Jed. We're also looking at the match between Berwick and Peebles, all derbies all around in National League 2 for that one. And don't forget our weekly Scottish Club Rugby podcast, available every Thursday, and our 8th edition available right now wherever you get your podcasts from, along with the other 7 episodes with Dale Clancy and myself. But we'll be back here next Saturday on Rugby Radio between 2:30 and 5 o'clock. Hope you can join us then, but for now, from me and the team, a very good afternoon.